Chapter 1454. The scene in front of them was enough to show. The power of the 13 Knights had completely surpassed the council and jumped to the top of the holy city during the Great Change. The 13 Knights would represent the greatest power of the holy city. However, how to continue to listen? The next important speech was naturally given to the great demon knight who had already taken the throne of the world. However, the great demon knight didn't directly announce the arrival of a new era. Instead, in front of all the council members and knights, he put his arm into his chest. He took out the important item that symbolized the complete victory of the great expedition. Land deed, lower king level. The great demon's name, Victor Diano, was branded on the bottom right corner of the land deed. Under the control of the great demon, the land deed slowly fell in front of everyone's eyes. Everyone would witness the important process of the land deed and the holy city merging together. When a land deed touched the soil, it immediately merged with it. Boom! A weak tremor came from the soles of the feet. With the city wall as the border, a white curtain that symbolized the rules of the world rose and wrapped the entire holy city in a hemispherical shape. This also meant that the holy city and the land deed were completely merged and became one of the important sovereign territories recognized by the world. Humans would not be restricted in any way inside. For outsiders, if they wanted to enter the white curtain, they had to get the permission of the great demon knight. If they wanted to force their way in, they had to take out a super powerful weapon that exceeded the lower king level. At the same time, as the holder of the land deed, the great demon knight's voice spread to every corner of the holy city. I, Victor Diano, the Knight of Misfortune's commander, hereby announce: we have achieved complete victory in the great expedition, and the fog of eternal night that pervades the world will no longer affect us. At the same time, it will also benefit the growth of new humans. Eternal Night era came to an end. Here, we will move towards the Chaos era, where humans and hybrid demons coexist. The great demon's words were transmitted to every citizen's ears through the land deed. At the same time, it also carried a small amount of pure magic energy, which played a role of consciousness excitement. For a moment, the whole city was boiling. Next, the great demon knight turned to speak to the members of the knights in front of him. As you can see, now that the holy city is in the final stage of the great change, a new constitution has been formed. The most important point is that the centralization center will change from the original council to the head organization. The head organization's current head of the 13 Knights. At the same time, there would also be 2 additional members who were top-notch in terms of strength, contribution, and importance. Currently, the Vice Captain of the Knights of Steam, Congreve Newton, and the Vice Captain of the Knights of Plague, Mr. Black and White, have been chosen. The original Parliament would also be preserved, and the members would still have the right to vote in public meetings. At the same time, they would also be responsible for the safekeeping of secrets. Now, the Holy City has entered a new era of comprehensive development. I believe that you have all seen the complete transformation of the civilian area during your ascent. The Steam Knights would provide free transformation services to ordinary civilians. Currently, the transformation coverage rate had reached more than 80%. The Order of Knights would also set up a new branch in the civilian area. Apprentice Knights could take on tasks related to auxiliary training and teach the modified civilians to complete the basic training. In this way, they would be rewarded with rich credits. At the same time, there was another important point. With the commander of the Secret Word Knights, Hugo Harrison, as the medium, a cooperative relationship was established with the Dimension Cube in advance during the Great Expedition. The famous Miskatonic University of the hybrid demon world had already been established in the Holy City under the administration of the Secret Word Knights. The teaching resources of the hybrid demons had already been fully invested in it. A new system for all of humanity had been created. Humans who have not come into contact with the Gate of Destiny can go to the branch for the admission test. Those who pass will not need to take the risk of destiny. They will undergo a transformation and upgrade using an ancient system inherited from this world. As soon as this was said, there was an uproar. Han Dong also suddenly widened his eyes, remembering the abnormality he had noticed when he had just passed through the second level. He did not expect that the sudden disappearance of the secret word knights in the expeditionary army and the aura emitted from the direction of the secret word knights would correspond to such a major event. Once such a hybrid demon school, which was equivalent to the National Royal Knight Academy, was built, it meant that the future development of humans in the Holy City would be divided into two. Humans who were unwilling to undergo the upgrade of destiny, or humans who were born with a favorable impression of the hybrid demons, could choose to walk the path through depravity, worship, and other means that Han Dong did not know about. At the same time, they would experience the stages of demonization, maturation, atavism, and so on. Although he was shocked when he first heard it, it made sense when he thought about it carefully. In ancient times, humans had relied on the upgrade model of the hybrid demons. Now that the Great Expedition had gained sovereignty, humans and hybrid demons in the Holy City were on the same level. The relevant upgrade system naturally needed to be introduced. However, he did not expect it to happen so quickly. It was actually realized by Captain Hugo before the Great Expedition was completed. As expected, Captain Hugo's nature is closely related to the hybrid demons. Moreover, the other captains have long known about Captain Hugo's true identity. This is also the main reason why Captain Hugo did not hesitate to pay a high price to pull me into the Secret Word Knights. Miskatonic University. I've heard this term many times. This school is also the most famous in the hybrid demon circle. I remember that one of the rewards that Pope received as the winner was the title of professor at Miskatonic University. At this moment, Sally gently tugged at Han Dong's sleeve and whispered to him, "Nicholas, who is this Captain Hugo that they were talking about just now? He actually has the right to establish a connection with Miskatonic University. This is the only organization that enjoys absolute neutrality. Dozens of former kings are directly or indirectly related to this university. Rumor has it that Pope's teacher, the omniscient and omnipotent existence in the void, is the true principle of Miskatonic University. Even if hybrid demons want to study in the main school, they have to go through layers of tests. If they do not satisfy any of the tests, they will be expelled. I'm not too sure either. When the gathering here is over, we'll go there to take a look. Coincidentally, I'm also a member of the Secret Word Knights. I should be able to enter the campus area easily." Okay, what followed next was a few hours of introduction about the overall reform and plans for future development. Han Dong could tell that even though the speech was so detailed, there were still many things that were concealed. There is never a direct mention of why the Steam Holy Ring was the tallest building corresponding to the organization. There was also no mention of the financial backer. Next was the commendation for the achievements of the Great Expedition. All the knights who made contributions during the Great Expedition were awarded with a unique Expedition Medal. Depending on their contributions, many knights were also promoted in position and rewarded with material goods. However, the award ceremony that lasted several hours did not involve Han Dong. When the awards ceremony ended, the great demon captain jumped down from the stone chair and landed directly in front of Han Dong. As the king of humans and the holder of the Holy City's title deed, he extended his hand and shook Han Dong's hand. The gelatinous mouth completely split open, revealing a heartfelt gratitude. "Warren Nicholas, thank you for your great contributions to the cause of humanity." Chapter 1455. The great demon captain's personal thanks naturally caused quite a stir. The knights who did not participate in the Great Expedition did not know what happened during that period. The only thing they were sure of was that Han Dong must have made a great contribution during the Great Expedition. "Nicholas, your reward will be given by Captain Hugo alone. When the gathering here is over, I hope you can find time to go to the newly built academy and look for Captain Hugo, who is the principal there." Although Han Dong had many questions, he did not ask them in the current situation. Although everything did not seem right, Han Dong still believed in the decisions made by the captains. Moreover, judging from the current situation of the meeting, The great change must have the support of some members of parliament, the grassroots of the royal family, and the church. The holy city was already in the later stage of the change. As for what else was hidden behind all of this, Han Dong could slowly explore it after everything was over. The awards ceremony ended. After the great demon captain encouraged everyone to accept and recommend the change, the gathering ended. Dimps, do you want to go to the new academy with me to take a look? I would like to, but the great demon captain just sent me a private message. I need to meet him alone. You and Miss Sally go first. I'll contact you when I'm free. Okay. Due to the great demon captain's personal thanks during the gathering, when Han Dong left the council area, he attracted a lot of attention. Many elite knights even sent him invitations. Just as Han Dong was about to reject them with the excuse that the Secret Words Knight Order had urgent matters to attend to, a pure black carriage squeezed through the crowd and stopped in front of Han Dong. The crow carvings on the surface of the carriage and the ghostly aura it emitted caused the nearby knights to disperse immediately. At this moment, Han Dong also showed a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. However, when Han Dong was about to get on the carriage, he found that his elbow was grabbed tightly. Sally, don't be afraid. The person in the carriage is my teacher in the Holy City. Oh, hearing Han Dong say this, Sally was slightly relieved. In her eyes, the black carriage emitted a sense of threat that she had never seen before. She could roughly judge that there was a mythical entity sitting in the carriage, but the threat was higher than ordinary mythical entities and even the outsiders they encountered during the London game. He stepped into the carriage. When the familiar black mask appeared in front of him, Han Dong finally felt what it was like to be home. However, while his emotions were fluctuating, Han Dong also noticed that Mr. Black and White was different and a little abnormal. Compared to before, the crow's aura had become even denser. Han Dong, who had already activated the door opening and leveled up his demonic eye, could finally see his teacher's true level, peak mythical realm. There was only a barrier that represented the king blocking him. However, Han Dong also vaguely noticed something unusual while observing the level of insight. Such an anomaly did not exist on the eve of the Great Expedition. Something that did not belong to his teacher's body existed in the right side of his head. However, due to the issue of seniority and etiquette, Han Dong could not directly activate his magic eye to examine his teacher's brain. Teacher, long time no see. It seems that you have made outstanding contributions during the Great Expedition, exceeding everyone's expectations. In just 2.5 years, you have actually reached such a level. It's no wonder that even White could not see your fate. It's all because of this brain and the handling of interpersonal relationships. Also, congratulations to Teacher for improving your strength. By the way, Teacher, your brain seems to be emitting an unusual aura. I keep feeling that something is not quite right. Han Dong's question surprised Mr. Black and White. Can you see the problem with my brain just by relying on the closed demonic eye? He was no longer hiding. He clasped his 5 fingers on his face and took off the entire black mask. This scene also stunned Han Dong immediately. Ever since Han Dong met Mr. Black and White, he had never seen his true appearance under the mask. Over time, he even regarded the mask as Mr. Black and White's true appearance. When they met again after a long separation, his teacher took off his mask. This made Han Dong somewhat unable to adapt for a moment. A face that could be described as stunning was revealed. His 3-dimensional facial features were not inferior to Demp's, and there was a sense of stability and maturity. A unique crow tattoo connected the right temple and the eye socket. Teacher, your eye. What was surprising was Mr. Black and White's left eye was normal, like a deep black gem. The right eye was a mechanical eye. The extremely precise structure of the artificial eye extended inward and radiated to the entire brain area. Well, for some reason, I had to accept the transformation from Mr. Newton. Through this eye, the other side is suppressed so that the ratio of black is greater than white. This kind of transformation is conducive to the advancement of the Great Revolution. Han Dong did not know the nature of Mr. Black and White, but according to the 2 completely different personalities, the relationship between Mr. White and the timekeeper, and the special artificial eye that Mr. Black and White was equipped with. Han Dong could roughly guess that Mr. White might have a deep connection with fate or even the Black Tower. Such a connection might not be suitable for the reform of the Holy City. Is it related to fate? That's right. It seems that your knowledge has reached a certain level. During the conversation, Mr. Black and White's evaluation of Han Dong continued to improve. In his eyes, the young man was no longer the student that needed his care. In just a few words, Han Dong was already at the same level. Even Mr. Black and White did not expect that the student he selected would have such a terrifying speed of improvement. Teacher, if you need any help, you can tell me at any time. I'm currently doing well in both sides. As long as I can help you, I will definitely not refuse. Mr. Black and White smiled with relief and gently waved his hand. Since you're doing well in both sides, there will naturally be more things related to you, and the burden you bear will also be heavier. The development of the Holy City will definitely require your support and assistance. This is just the beginning, and the real turmoil has yet to come. As for my problem, you don't have to worry about it at all. I took the initiative to propose the modification of this, to Mr. Newton. As far as my current state is concerned, it's much better than when I was imprisoned in the stargazing room. After talking so much, you still haven't introduced me to this. Lady, under Han Dong's signal, Sally took off the sheepskin hood that covered her face, revealing the black goat's long horns and an anthropomorphic human face. Miss Sally, she's from the Black Forest, one of the current top 10 origin substances. During the Great Expedition, I met her and worked with her many times. This time, she followed me to the Holy City to learn about the relevant situation of the human city in advance. Origin substance, black goat. These two keywords alone shocked Mr. Black and White. One had to know that black goat was one of the top races among the hybrid demons. The title of origin substance was even more terrifying. The stone tablets analyzed by the Secret Word Knights mentioned that origin substances were like predetermined future kings, and they belonged to the top of the hybrid demons, a super race. What was even more exaggerated was that this female origin substance in front of him seemed to be very obedient to Han Dong. Sally, she can be trusted completely. Teacher, please tell me the specific situation in the Holy City. What's going on? On the eve of the Great Expedition, what kind of meeting did you have in the Holy Ring? Chapter 1456. The relevant personnel have signed a confidentiality agreement regarding the contents of the meeting, so I can't disclose the details. However, I can tell you one thing. The plan for change had already begun before you entered the city. All the commanders, some high-ranking members of Parliament, the royal family, and the Vatican were secretly providing support. The series of concealment currently made is actually a protective measure and will be slowly revealed when necessary. The investors and the Steam Knights will play a decisive role in the future development. No matter what the results of the Great Expedition are, we must leave a way out. Moreover, the overall situation has not stabilized because of the perfect conclusion of the Great Expedition. Nicholas, you also know that the existing human forces are divided into three, and our Holy City is only one of them. The other two forces are not much weaker than us in terms of strength and resources. The Great Expedition is our Holy City's independent plan. We didn't get permission from Dragon City or the Royal City, especially the Royal City, which is located in America and focuses on technological development. It's the complete opposite of our pursuit of freedom. You should be very clear about this, right? Han Dong nodded. Yes. I've dealt with a senior engineer from Wangdu. Wangdu firmly denies the existence of the hybrid demons, and Dragon City has always maintained a neutral attitude. Hearing this, Sally showed a disdainful expression. In her opinion, the survival of mankind was entirely due to the mercy of some of the superiors. Otherwise, it would only take one superior existence to easily destroy the city that mankind had spent hundreds of years to build. This is the problem we need to face next. The Great Expedition will soon spread throughout the world. Wangdu may go on a completely opposite path from us. Nicholas, since you've already come into contact with the depths of fate, you should have also been to the core area shaped like a tower. The Great Expedition allowed us to gain sovereignty over World S01 and the freedom to coexist with the hybrid demons. Once the fate side knows about this, they will definitely take action accordingly, and their target will most likely be Wangdu, which strongly rejects the hybrid demons. Teacher, you mean that the fate side may take the initiative to find Wangdu and support them? That's right. With that said, two crows emerged from Mr. Black and White's left and right palms. One of them had wriggling tentacles all over its body, while the other had undergone technological modifications and was biting each other. At this moment, Sally suddenly added, "If the humans you speak of really dare to side with fate, you won't even need to do anything. The old kings can flatten their cities with a few stomps. Things might not be that simple. Take this expedition, for example. In the end, didn't you rely on your own strength to solve the problem? If fate wanted to interfere, the interference factor they provided should be able to ensure the stability of the scales. As for the high and mighty old kings, they're also looking forward to the performance of the humans in the holy city. Unless it is absolutely necessary, they will not take the initiative to intervene." Sally nodded silently upon hearing this. She felt that this human had a point. If it really evolved into a battle between the two main cities, perhaps the old kings would start a gambling game again. It would be a form of entertainment and also a way to verify the true strength of the holy city. After all, the London game had only verified one of the expeditionary forces. Han Dong thought for a moment and nodded seriously. "I understand. Thank you for your hard work, teacher. In the near future, I will do my best to help complete the later stages of the revolution." Mr. Black and White continued, "We will deal with the revolution. We will take care of the Reformation. Nicholas, you just have to do your job well. Try to reach a higher level before everything goes wrong. Your growth has exceeded everyone's expectations. Continue to grow at this incredible speed. I hope you can reach a height that can shake the overall situation and simplify all the troublesome things. If there is anything, you can contact me at any time." Okay. The carriage had already stopped at the second level of the holy city, in the deepest part of the residential area. This used to be the headquarters of the secret library, where the ancient stone slabs were kept. With the introduction of the Miskatonic University Holy City branch, the current area had completely changed. The residential buildings nearby that were originally remote were either forcibly demolished and had to pay a huge demolition fee, or they were directly transformed into high-status academic houses. Many civilians who had undergone mechanical modifications had already come here to adapt to the environment in advance and prepare for the entrance test. Mr. Black and White still had other things to do, so he did not follow them to the newly built school. What a strong hybrid demon aura. It's not inferior to London at all. However, this hybrid demon aura is not corrosive and will not actively affect the nearby human residents. The entire school is wrapped in a special fog, and at the same time, it has a complete shielding effect, blocking all perception outside. The fog is like a living thing that has even spread to the nearby streets, producing some kind of homogenizing effect. When he stepped out of the carriage, he felt as if he had stepped into a river of fog. Everything below his knees was completely covered. The so-called school district houses nearby were also shrouded in fog. Vaguely, there were tentacles growing out of the houses. This is the inherent barrier of the Miskatonic University, hereinafter referred to as the secret institution. It was designed by Mr. Fog himself. Compared to the eternal night fog that pervades the entire planet, this barrier is of a higher level. I didn't expect you to be able to obtain permission to the secret institution branch. Let's go in and see what's going on. They went against the flow of the fog. The outer walls of the school, like black spires, came into view. There was a sleeping nightmare standing on the outer walls every 5 meters. The school gate used a type of passage design. 3 abyss-like entrances were the main entrance of the school. First, it was open to humans who came to take the entrance test for the first time. Every human only had one chance. If they failed the test, they could only choose the path of fate. Second, it was open to all students who had already obtained the qualifications to enter the school. They could enter through the tunnel to reach the interior of the school. Third, it was open to staff, administrators, and foreign guests. They could directly reach a certain building in the school through a special passage between the abysses. There was no need for security at the school gate. If ordinary citizens wanted to enter the school through the second or third passage, they would be directly swallowed by the abyss. Currently, there were many people lining up in front of the first passage. Most of them came from the civilian district. Compared to the higher mortality rate in the realm of fate, they were more willing to try here first. What are those two young people doing? Aren't they afraid of death? Many people noticed that Han Dong and Sally were approaching the second passage. From his appearance alone, Han Dong did not have a knight's armor, nor did he have any special characteristics. He looked like an ordinary university student. When Han Dong stepped into the passage, a voice that outsiders could not understand came from within. Welcome, Grey Envoy, 4th Prime, to the Secret Institution Branch. The school gate was a living creature responsible for checking the identity of those who entered the school. It secreted saliva that could cleanse the body and restore vitality. It dripped onto Han Dong and Sally's body, welcoming the arrival of the two important figures. Chapter 1457. Han Dong entered the campus through the student passageway. The fog still existed in the campus, limiting one's vision. It was impossible to see the campus as a whole. This campus occupied the entire area of the headquarters of the Secret Word Knights. At the same time, it radiated outwards for 3 whole blocks. It was still quite a large area. The green lawns and rocky paths that he saw so far were basically similar to an ordinary campus. Walking on the path paved with pebbles, Sally kept looking around as if she was on guard against something. Sally, what's wrong? Nothing. I keep feeling that the aura here is somewhat familiar, but I can't remember where I've come into contact with it. Also, this campus is not quite the same as the secret court in my memory. The branches of the secret court are spread all over the universe. Most of them inherit the characteristics of the secret court, but here seems to only inherit the characteristics of the fog. After all, it's a campus built in a human city. It'll be easier for people to accept it if it's more human-like. By the way, what kind of place is the secret court? Although I've always heard about it, I don't know anything about it. Hold my hand, and I'll tell you about the secret court in detail. I'm an outstanding graduate of the secret court. Along the way, including riding in Mr. Black and White's carriage, Sally would touch Han Dong's arm from time to time and give him the hint to hold hands. She gave similar hints no less than 20 times. However, Han Dong, who was paying attention to the changes in the holy city, did not notice at all. The reason why Sally was so insistent on holding hands was not a romantic relationship from a human perspective. Instead, she wanted to enhance the deeper connection between her and Han Dong through physical contact. It could be understood as a form of tacit understanding. Prolonged contact would allow the two to achieve a certain level of consciousness synchronization, which would be beneficial for subsequent team battles in the Destiny realm. Of course, if Sally wanted to, she could achieve rapid pregnancy just by holding hands. Okay, Han Dong did not mind. He immediately held her soft, almost boneless hand. The bones had been replaced by tentacles. This touch was much more comfortable than that of a human woman. Moreover, there was a unique vitality similar to the Black Forest. There was also an intimate communication between the cells in the area where their palms touched. As you know, the Secret Court is the largest school in our world. Dozens of former kings are associated with it. Bob's teacher is the rumored principal of the Secret Court. The Secret Court's stance was absolutely neutral. All forms of fighting were prohibited on campus. Once discovered, they would be permanently removed from the school. Serious offenders will be judged by the Secret Court, and a mark will be left on their souls. These offenders will be rejected wherever they go. Even if they reincarnate, they won't be able to erase the mark on their souls. This kind of peaceful rule is really rare in the hybrid demon circle. Well, after all, most of the old Wangdu liked war. For example, land deeds corresponded to various forms of land deed wars, which was exactly what the superiors wanted to see. They wanted to optimize the entire race through conflicts. The secret court was another way to improve the quality of a race, and it was of a higher level than war. Let's not talk about the various branches for now. The conditions to enter the main school of the Secret Academy are very harsh. There's no such thing as an entrance test like your branch school. There are two ways to enroll students. 1. Any war, competition, or fortuitous encounter that broke out in the world, regardless of whether it was publicly acknowledged or not, the Human Resources Department of the Secret Court would obtain the relevant information and select the outstanding individuals to directly issue invitations to them. 2. Old Middle Kings and above have a fixed number of recommendation spots every year. They can directly recommend their subordinate hybrid demons to the Secret Court. In addition, entering the school doesn't mean that you can easily graduate. The Secret Court will record every hybrid demon's school experience in detail. If their performance is not up to standard, they will be ordered to drop out. If a dropout is recommended by an old king, the number of recommendation spots for that old king will also be reduced. There was a period of time when my personal condition fluctuated because of mother's problem, and I received a warning letter from a school. Is it that harsh? Even you were warned? With such harsh screening conditions, it must correspond to the most talented hybrid demons. Then the teachers in the Secret Court's main school should be mostly old kings, right? After all, there should be quite a number of old kings in our world, and there are dozens of old kings associated with the Secret Court. That's not the case. Old kings are often nominal teachers. They occasionally come to open classes when they have time. Only a few old kings stay in the school for a long time. Most of the teachers are mythical bodies who have reached the peak of a certain field. Compared to some old kings, they are better at teaching hybrid demons who are growing up. However, there are exceptions. For example, Bop obtained the title of professor with just his atavistic body. This is unprecedented in the history of the Secret Court. After all, Bop has mastered the extremely rare void attribute and is extremely proficient in it. Coupled with his wonderful performance in the London game, it is natural for him to be chosen as a professor. Sigh, my luck is really bad. I just happen to be born in the same era as this group of monsters. The only good thing is to be able to meet such an interesting human like Nicholas. Sally's last words contained the meaning of expressing her position. There was also a hint of love in her eyes. She wanted to hear how Han Dong would answer. Han Dong was silent for a while before he continued with a serious expression. Bop is indeed powerful. Unfortunately, his prejudice against Grimm is almost irreparable. Otherwise, I would really want to establish a friendship with him and find a chance to have a long and deep discussion in the library. He and I should belong to the same type. If we have an academic discussion, it will definitely be very interesting. Oh, Sally gently bit her lower lip, her eyes full of disappointment. Speaking of which, being a professor in the Secret Court, the treatment should be very good, right? I don't know the specifics of the treatment. This is all classified. What I know is that if you can become an associate professor or above in the Secret Court, you can go deep into the unique great library of the Secret Court. You can read some extremely valuable books for free and even have the chance to come into contact with demonic book level ancient books. Demonic book? That's a bit interesting. Sally's words immediately made Han Dong draw up a goal in his heart. If he had the chance, he really wanted to go to the Secret Court to give it a try. If he could hire a professor, he would have the chance to come into contact with demonic books other than the Book of Death. As they talked, the two of them had unknowingly approached the teaching area of the Holy City branch. Various buildings with a mix of hybrid demon and human styles stood there. Just by looking at the style, one could distinguish the corresponding teaching content of the teaching area. The only building that had not changed was the Secret Court. At the same time, it was also the administrative building and was located in the center. Just as Han Dong was about to bring Sally over, a familiar figure slowly walked out of the fog. Under the messy brown hair was the face of an uncle who had experienced the vicissitudes of life. The notebook hanging at his waist had the Night Order logo of a question mark and magnifying glass printed on the cover. Before Han Dong could call out his commander's name, Sally, who was at the side, widened her eyes and said with a tone of surprise and disbelief, "Teacher Hugo, you're actually here." Chapter 1458. Han Dong had already thought of what to say when he met Captain Hugo, and at the same time, he introduced Sally to him. When he saw that Captain Hugo still looked like a sloppy uncle, a sense of familiarity rose in his heart. Sally actually called out Captain Hugo's real name, and, at the same time, called him teacher. This made Han Dong dumbfounded. Captain Hugo was also very surprised. He naturally remembered this student who had once performed outstandingly. "Sally, why are you here?" Hugo had come out early because he had sensed the Black Mountain Goat's scent and had not taken the initiative to welcome Han Dong. Of course, he also noticed that Sally was holding hands with Han Dong. "I came here with Nicholas. The human city had just been recognized by the old kings, so I came here to take a look. I really didn't expect that Teacher Hugo would be here. When you suddenly disappeared, the school's higher-ups blocked all information about you. Everyone guessed that you had reached the requirements to become a king, so you suddenly left the school. I didn't expect you to come to a human city. What the hell is going on?" Back then, I encountered some unavoidable matters and had no choice but to leave the school. Evidently, Hugo did not seem to be willing to talk about why he had left the school, and Sally was too embarrassed to continue asking. At this moment, Han Dong could not help but interject. "What's going on? Captain Hugo, you were once a teacher in the secret court?" Without waiting for Hugo to reply, Sally immediately explained. "That's right. Teacher Hugo is a famous professor in the secret court and a true master in the field of archaeology. Furthermore, he treats his students very well, and almost every batch of students likes Teacher Hugo. Archaeology? A famous professor." Combined with Sally's introduction to the secret court, this title was not simple. While Han Dong was shocked, a big mystery in his heart was solved. Although he knew that Captain Hugo had a very special position in the Night Order, he did not expect it to be such an identity. Of course, it was also because of this unique identity as a hybrid demon that allowed the secret court to set up a branch here. Captain Hugo has been in this position for at least 10 years. Since Mr. Black and White knew his true identity, I'm guessing that some of the higher-ups in the Holy City knew as well. This is enough to prove that the Great Change had already been planned since then. Captain Hugo also changed the topic to Han Dong. "I didn't expect you to know Sally during the Great Expedition, Nicholas. Since that's the case, you must have seen other origin substances, right? Speaking of which, how is your relationship with Pop? He was an important figure, and in the future, he would be the key to moving the world. If you haven't met him yet, you must find a chance to interact with him in the future. You and Bop are the same kind, so you should get along well." Hearing this, Han Dong had an awkward expression. "Ha! What a pity. Due to my close relationship with a certain origin substance, Bop is unwilling to interact with me at all. There's nothing we can do about it, as long as we don't become enemies." Hugo immediately understood the meaning of this sentence. While feeling astonished, he shrugged his shoulders and gestured for the other two to follow him. "Let's talk about other matters in my office. Nicholas, I have a great expedition reward here that I want to give to you separately. Since Sally is here, come along." Okay. Sally was excited. She didn't expect the professor she had admired to appear here. She was still eager to know why Captain Hugo had given up his highly paid title as a professor and come to live in a human city. More importantly, Sally couldn't see through Hugo's hybrid demon characteristics. If she hadn't smelled his unique scent, Sally would have treated him as a human. Secret library. The design of the interior space hadn't changed at all. One had to solve complicated equations to go to different areas. Sally could tell at a glance the origin of the design of the secret library. Teacher Hugo, the design of this place should be based on the secret library, right? You can actually replicate it to such an extent. That's amazing. This can't be compared. I've only used the principles of the surface to replicate less than 10%. This is far from being comparable to the Great Library. However, this alone is enough to ensure that it's airtight. The long-awaited reunion between teacher and student made Sally completely open up. She kept talking about some things that had happened in the past. Of course, no matter how happy Sally was, she held on to Han Dong tightly. Every time she finished speaking, she would secretly glance at Han Dong's expression to see if there was any change in his expression. The more he listened to their conversation, the more Han Dong wanted to go to the main school of the secret library. At the same time, Han Dong also noticed that the Knight of Secret Words, who had left the team earlier, had already returned. He was working overtime, and he could often see the knight with dark circles under his eyes running quickly through the corridors while carrying school documents that were taller than him. Soon, they arrived at the door of the former captain's office. However, other than the symbol of the Knights of the Secret Language, there's also a picture of the Secret Academy's emblem on the door. The captain's office had been officially renamed to the principal's office. I heard from them that your performance during the Great Expedition was quite amazing, Nicholas, Sally said. That's right. Nicholas was the biggest winner of the London game. Not bad. Captain Hugo wasn't very surprised. He just showed a gratified smile. After all, when he saw that Sally, who was the fourth original essence, could walk so intimately with Han Dong, he could roughly guess Han Dong's position during the Great Expedition. Actually, I haven't completely thought about the reward. I think you've already received a generous enough reward from the hybrid demons. Our physical rewards here shouldn't be of much use to you. How about this? Nicholas, how about you propose a reward yourself? Okay, that was right. Han Dong wasn't very interested in the physical rewards that the Holy City could give. Han Dong currently only wanted two types of physical rewards: legendary equipment and the demonic book that he had just learned about. Since Captain Hugo was able to fight for a branch of the Secret Academy in the Holy City, you should still have your title as a professor, and you should have some real power in the main school. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony. Han Dong didn't think too much about it and directly stated his request for a reward. Captain Hugo, I want to be a teacher in the main school of the Secret Academy. Do you have any connections here? As soon as he said this, Captain Hugo's expression immediately became troubled, and he immediately regretted his decision. The difficulty of becoming a teacher in the Secret Academy is 100 or 1,000 times harder than the qualifications to enter the school. Moreover, the Secret Academy prefers to let their students stay in the school and take up teaching positions directly. This is more beneficial to the stability of the school. The qualifications to hire external teachers are extremely difficult to obtain. However, there are still ways, but it's very troublesome. Nicholas, are you sure you want this reward? I'm sure. All right. The branch has just been completed not long ago, and the Holy City is also in a period of change. Once everything here is over, I'll personally take you to the main school of the Secret Academy. Thank you, Captain Hugo. Chapter 1459. In a separate office in the secret library. Squeak, 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 the sound of tentacles kept coming out. The desk and the surrounding floor were piled with documents. A certain young man was multitasking and dealing with these documents at an extremely fast speed. As he became more proficient in the business, more tentacles came out to help. At most, they could reach 16 times the speed. Under such high-intensity work, the young man's hair kept falling down from his head. In order to ensure that the employees could work 24 hours a day, each office was equipped with a bed and bathroom. On the bed in the room, a pair of black sheep's hooves were constantly changing the position of its legs. Nicholas, is this how you humans live every day? It's too boring. It's just work. I can't help it. Under normal circumstances, knights have more free time, but our knights are a little special. Usually, everyone will take on some investigation missions that involve outside the city to solve some problems with nearby hybrid demons. Just wait for me. I'll be done soon. This can't be helped. If I help Captain Hugo take care of these things in advance, I can go to the secret library sooner. You really plan to be a teacher there? Yes, to a large extent, my interest was piqued by you, especially the great library that you mentioned. Didn't you say it before? If I can get the title of associate professor, I will have access to the hidden demonic book stored in the library, and there are other very interesting books. The secret library is a special school connected to dozens of old kings. The great library should be one of the best in the hybrid demon circle. The more I think about it, the more I can't wait to go and take a look. If you can really get the job, I'll go with you. Origin and the identity of an outstanding graduate should be enough for me to apply for the visiting scholar right. Okay, I haven't been there yet. If Miss Sally can lead the way, it will save me a lot of time. Sally touched the horns on her forehead. The only thing I'm worried about now is that if Pope knows that you want to teach in the secret library, he might secretly interfere. It's not a big problem. Pope's personality is quite good. Even if he interferes, it will be within the school's regulations, and the difficulty will increase. If I can't pass, it's just because I'm not capable enough. As they chatted, Han Dong finally finished correcting the last stack of documents. Ever since the end of the London game, Han Dong had not truly rested, aside from the heart of the tree in the Black Forest, where he was soaked in the nutrient solution with the goat mother. After a period of high-intensity work, an unprecedented sense of fatigue swept through his entire body. He could no longer block the tiredness signals transmitted by his brain. Sally, I need to sleep for a while. As soon as Han Dong got up, his body fell forward. Just as his head was about to hit the ground, a series of soft purple tentacles wrapped around his body, slowly dragging him towards the bed. The originally hard wire bed had now become abnormally soft. At the same time, it emitted a body fragrance that was better than any perfume in the world. He slept for 2 days and 2 nights. Han Dong also had a dream. He dreamed that he was walking in a boundless black forest. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find the border and gradually lost himself in it. Gradually, he no longer rejected this forest and slowly settled down here. He nibbled on fresh and juicy tree bark or colorful mushrooms, and gradually became one with the forest. He could even easily merge his body with the soft tree trunks and directly absorb the juices within. Although only 2 days had passed in reality, this dream made Han Dong feel as if months or even years had passed. Within a few minutes of waking up, he was still unable to accept reality. However, his mental and physical state had been completely replenished, and even the hair that had fallen off during work had grown back. At the same time, Han Dong's entire body was wrapped in a sticky liquid that was similar to the one secreted by the trees in his dream. It was a sweet and delicious sticky liquid that could replenish nutrients. Sally was sleeping soundly on the 1-meter-wide wire bed, and the places where the two of them were stuck together even had a filamentous substance between flesh and liquid. 10 minutes later, Han Dong carried a small mountain of documents and once again came to Captain Hugo's office. This time, Sally, who was following beside him, had a black veil covering her face and was a little shy. Thank you for your hard work. Nicholas, I'm a little embarrassed to let you work as soon as you come back. Originally, there were still some things that needed you to deal with, but Mr. Newton sent an invitation letter in hopes that you can make a trip to the Holy Ring. I suggest that you go there as soon as possible. Currently, the Steam Knights are very important to the reform of the Holy City, and you seem to have some technical cooperation with Mr. Newton. Okay, I'll go there now. Compared to continuing to look at the mountain of documents, Han Dong was more inclined to meet with Mr. Newton. Also, Han Dong was more interested in the Holy Ring that was currently above the Parliament and was the pinnacle of the Holy City. At the same time, he signed a technical cooperation contract with Mr. Newton. Holy Ring, the special building structure embedded in the Steam Knights. Machinery Faith was originally the main activity area of the Steam Knights, Machinery Faith. Now, it had become a center of power and the area where leaders discussed important policies. Relying on Mr. Newton's letter, Han Dong easily passed through the various checkpoints and came to the Holy Ring area again. Other than the core teachers wearing the Machinery Faith's uniform, there were also some special missions here, such as former high-ranking counselors, contacts of various night orders, and so on. Nicholas, you're finally here. Captain Hugo really doesn't know how to cherish excellent members. You're the biggest contributor to the great expedition, and he actually made you do the basic work as soon as you came back. However, your mental state is far better than I expected. The cooperation should be able to proceed smoothly. A familiar voice and heavy footsteps came together. Mr. Newton, who was wearing a noble's wig, took the initiative to welcome him. Although he had a smile on his face, it made Han Dong feel very uncomfortable. Sally also held his arm tightly, as if she could smell danger from this human. Who is this lady? Sally, I met her outside the city. However, before Han Dong could finish his introduction, Mr. Newton showed a very kind smile and invited a mechanical assistant. The following conversation involves technical secrets. I hope Miss Sally can rest in the VIP room. We'll provide all the services we can. Just as Sally was about to refuse, Han Dong whispered in her ear, Sally, you can go to the VIP room first. Feel free to contact me if there's anything. I shouldn't take too much time here. I'll come and find you later. Okay, as Sally was led away by the mechanical servant. Mr. Newton's thick and strong arm immediately landed on Han Dong's shoulder. I've already heard about your outstanding performance during the expedition from the commander. Mr. Black White's eyesight is too good. If you're my student, how good would that be? I called you here this time to deepen the technical cooperation between us. Our investor happens to have time today, so we can talk about things that we couldn't talk about before. Chapter 1460. Investor, the head of the Steam Knights, who personally controlled the economic lifeline of the sacred city. At the same time, as the designer and creator of the Steam City, he introduced the steam technology of the sacred city to a new level. Because of his special identity, he had the right to attend all kinds of meetings as a substitute. His real body was always in the treasury. Even the internal members of the Steam Knights, more than 80% of them had never seen Investor's real body. The one who appeared at the Knights Conference and threw an olive branch to Han Dong was only a mechanical substitute of Investor. Investor is also here today. With the return of the Expeditionary Army, the Great Change has entered the final stage. Some things must be decided by Investor himself. Currently, Investor is discussing the Dark Side construction with the Great Demon, Grim Reaper, the leader of the Night Watchmen, Coden, and Lightless Jack Mason, who had just returned. The meeting should be over soon. Just wait a little. Under the lead of Mr. Newton, they walked to the connection point between the Holy Ring and the Pillar of Steam. Is the meeting room not in the Holy Ring? The Holy Ring is mainly used to supervise, promote, and integrate the sacred city as a whole. The head of the meeting room is located at the top of the Pillar of Steam, which is the treasury compartment. It is the closest to Investor's living room and is convenient for him to move around. Treasury? That is Investor's residence. He has not left for decades. It is natural that you have not been there. After all, even within the Knights, only the captain level and above is allowed to fill in the treasury application. Whether you can enter or not still needs Investor's personal permission. The treasury is piled with treasures collected since the establishment of the sacred city, as well as special gold brought out from different destiny spaces. Treasures are everything to Investor. Whether it is the most basic food, clothing, housing, or physical and spiritual enjoyment, they're all inseparable from treasures. When you go up later, use this as a greeting gift. Investor should be very happy. After saying that, Mr. Newton took out a gold coin that emitted a dark glow from his chest pocket. Thank you, Mr. Newton. From the built-in elevator of the Pillar of Steam to the top, only Newton had the authority to directly activate it. When the elevator door opened, they happened to meet a group of heads who had just finished a meeting. Except for the Lightless Jack Mason of the Wind Knight Regiment, which he wasn't familiar with, the others could be considered old acquaintances. The Great Fiend stared at the two people in front of him and asked out of consideration for Han Dong. Newton, why did you bring Nicholas here? Nicholas has been secretly providing biotechnology support to our Steam Knights. The transformation plan that radiates to the civilian area this time is also largely due to the technical assistance provided by Nicholas. Currently, there's an important technical discussion that requires Nicholas to discuss with the investor face to face. Don't try anything funny. The great demon leader really doesn't trust us. Besides, during the Great Expedition, Nicholas had single-handedly killed a mythical body from a foreign land. Even if I had any ideas, I wouldn't dare to carry them out. Newton put his arm around Han Dong's shoulder and headed straight for the vault. The Great Fiend also secretly left a demonic mark on Han Dong. If anything went wrong, he would personally step in. After experiencing the Great Expedition and the private conversation with Demps, he realized that Han Dong must be an important gear that drove the world. He was irreplaceable. The vault door, made of pure gold, was about 6 meters tall. Mr. Newton directly used the way he opened the door as the deputy head. Unique decoding stripes appeared between his arms and stuck to the surface of the door. The decoding stripes immediately resonated with the door, and there was a mechanical sound of unlocking from inside. Finally, using the simplest brute force, he pushed the door inwards. During this time, Mr. Newton's arms bulged with rather exaggerated muscle stripes. Tiny gear structures could be vaguely seen between the muscles. Seeing this scene, Han Dong remembered what he had heard about the wise men of the Holy City. The people who were called wise men were scattered in various areas of the Holy City. The two most famous were Black and White and Newton. At the same time, the characteristics of the two were opposite. Black and White tended to be feminine and mysterious. Often, sitting in the astrology room could solve problems. Newton tended to be masculine and was even called the wise man of physics. When encountering more troublesome problems, he would use physical means to solve them. As Newton completely pushed the vault door open, the brilliance emitted by the treasure was so dazzling that Han Dong couldn't open his eyes for a moment. When his eyes gradually adjusted, the scene in front of him made it difficult for Han Dong to find the corresponding adjectives. Mountains of gold and silver was not enough to describe the degree of luxury here. The ground alone was composed of gold coins from different eras and different worlds. There were all kinds of treasures everywhere. And Han Dong also felt that every gold coin and every gem exuded an aura similar to that of a living creature. Be careful. These treasures are marked by their owners. If you touch the treasures with improper thoughts, liquid gold will leave a mark on your body. It will be very troublesome. Well, I don't have any thoughts. It's just the first time I've seen this ability. Their owners are unique. In theory, the greater the accumulation of wealth, the stronger they will become. There's almost no upper limit. Within the range of the vault, there should not be many people in the Holy City who are opponents of their owners. Come with me. Don't let the old man wait too long. He followed Newton through the complicated passages of the vault and arrived at the conference room. When Han Dong saw his owner's face for the first time, he immediately understood some things. Why did his owner enjoy certain meeting privileges? Why was the conference room built inside his vault? The conference room was nearly 300 square meters wide and 5 meters high. A huge object with gold pendants hanging all over its body was piled up here. It occupied about 1/4 of the area and was almost full of height. It was his owner. It was extremely fat, similar to a living lump of fat. Walla walla, every moment, gold coins overflowed from his facial features and navel. He could even faintly hear the rhythmic sound of mechanical pistons coming from his body. Greetings, owner. Han Dong hurriedly presented the gold coins. When the gold coins were exposed in front of his owner, they immediately resonated and were sucked into his mouth. After chewing, he swallowed. An old voice squeezed out from the fat. Well, very good foreign gold coins. You are the key factor that Newton mentioned, Warren Nicholas. I asked you to come this time because I hope to establish a deeper cooperative relationship with you. I'll be frank. I hope you can join the STEAM Nights and serve as the technical director and the overall person in charge of the biological STEAM project. As for the return, our internal technology will be open to you. The relevant engineers will be at your disposal and even go outside the city to make changes to your manor. At the same time, a large amount of wealth, materials, and various energy sources are at your disposal. In addition, you will also have the same meeting authority as the leaders. You can participate in key meetings that determine the future of the holy city and have the right to vote. It would be difficult for anyone to refuse such a condition. Han Dong, who had not left the city before, might immediately agree. But Han Dong was no longer a young man bound in the holy city. His body and soul had merged with the world outside the city. Owner, forgive me for refusing. Chapter 1461. Reject the Investor. This was a big taboo in the holy city. Rumor had it that the investor would get what he wanted no matter what. Even the commanders would find it hard to reject the investor. However, now this was the second time that Han Dong had rejected the investor. The first time was at the Knights Conference. The investor's substitute who came to participate in the conference offered Han Dong an olive branch. But in the end, Han Dong chose to join the Secret Words Knights because of Commander Hugo. The investor didn't find trouble with him afterward. Han Dong guessed that it had something to do with Commander Hugo and the council's secret handling. Now, in the face of the investor's request, Han Dong still refused. The reason was simple. Such a seemingly generous condition was nothing in Han Dong's eyes. It couldn't be compared with his own time. Investor, forgive me for refusing. When giving such an answer, Han Dong's spirit was also fully tense. He even derived the structure of tentacles in his brain to prepare for soul borrowing. Combined with the great demon commander's warning at the elevator just now, the investor and Mr. Newton might really do something unfavorable to Han Dong. Ha! Ha! Waves of laughter were constantly squeezed out from the fat, accompanied by a large number of gold coins falling to the ground. In the face of Han Dong's rejection, the investor was not angry. Instead, he felt very happy. You are indeed a knight who made great contributions during the great expedition and played a decisive role. I think such a common condition can't satisfy you at all. No need to be nervous. The cooperation condition just now was just a test. After all, neither Newton nor I personally participated in the great expedition. No matter how wonderful the description of you is, as long as I don't see it myself, I won't easily believe it. From your decisive refusal, just now, 60% of the rumors about you should be true. Next, I need to continue to verify the remaining 40%. If you can really do it, I will talk to you about a very cost-effective deal that will definitely satisfy you. What? How much can you see from my body in 1 minute? If you can't see anything, today's conversation will end here. We won't interfere with you in any way. The basic cooperation between you and the Steam Knights will still be maintained. The countdown has begun. Although Han Dong didn't quite understand his patron's true intentions, he could vaguely smell the scent of an opportunity. Since his sugar daddy took the initiative to show him, Han Dong didn't hold back. When the demonic eye opened, the surrounding space started to distort. A strange black vortex quickly formed in his pupils. The gray and turbid visual effects slowly drilled into the golden membrane on the surface of the metal body like tentacles and seeped into the belly sac to see the real scene inside the body. Seeing this scene, Han Dong turned pale with fright and turned his head. He looked at the other person in the conference room, Mr. Newton, who had been standing at the door obediently the whole time. Patron, is this your creation, Mr. Newton? Pa, pa, pa. Crisp applause sounded in the conference room. Mr. Newton revealed a smile that was completely different from his usual smile. It was a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. 13 seconds. It seems like your eyes are quite special. There shouldn't be a second eye like this in the entire holy city. Remember, you must keep this matter a secret for me. Otherwise, according to the laws of the holy city, I will lose a lot of precious time. Just like you said, I was the one who created Sugar Daddy. The technology and price involved came from my life and death experience in the Destiny space. In the end, I used a node of the developable world as the foundation and consumed all the points I had at that time to finally complete the creation of Patron. I didn't expect you to be able to see it. Your existence has exceeded the conventional definition and is worthy of our deeper cooperation." Han Dong was completely stunned. No one would have thought of this. The famous general of the Steam Knights was actually Mr. Newton's creation. In other words, the entire Steam Knights, the entire Steam City, and the Holy Ring organization that was currently above the Parliament were all managed by Newton alone. Next, let's talk about the real cooperation. Mr. Newton sat in an elegant posture directly opposite Han Dong. A real contract made of soft metal was handed over. Time is the most precious thing in the world. The higher a person climbs, the more priceless time is. I know very well that, Nicholas, your time can no longer be measured by money. Therefore, the cooperation we are about to reach will not only not take up your time, but it can also save you some time. Steam technology is my lifelong pursuit. In my opinion, it is the branch of technology with the most potential and value. I will put everything into it, including my life. Newton's tone had completely changed. He no longer pretended and spoke from the bottom of his heart. He put himself on the same level as Han Dong and had the most sincere conversation. However, the level I have reached is far from enough. It is not enough to push the entire holy city to a higher area through the gears and to a safe area. I need more and more intuitive technical support. I hope you can share the Steam technology with me. Nicholas, if there is a chance, I hope you can be the middleman and let me meet the scientists involved in the Yimo cube and steam gears. It would be best if it could be one of the old kings who has mastered this end. In return, I will share all the research results with you without reservation. I will even send the best engineers to transfer the relevant technology and equipment to your manor to save a lot of time. Of course, all the above will not restrict your freedom, Nicholas. It is just a technical exchange like before. Hearing this, Han Dong also showed a gratified smile. During the conversation, the magic eye remained open. Mr. Newton's passionate speech did not contain any lies. What Han Dong could be sure of was that Mr. Newton would always put steam research and the development of the Holy City first. At the same time, he also understood why Mr. Black and White would choose to trust Newton unconditionally and even accept the mechanical transformation provided by the other party. Of course, however, Mr. Newton, I still have some questions. In terms of pulling strings, my relationship with the Yimo Cube is indeed good. But as a well-known professor in the Secret Academy, Commander Hugo must be able to establish technical cooperation with the Yimo, right? Why do you still need to find me? Do you know about Hugo's matter as well? In that case, there is no mistake. Hugo is indeed helping me. Some Yimo experts in the Secret Academy who are involved in mechanical gears are establishing a cooperative relationship with us. However, this relationship does not include the old kings, and the other party's attitude has always been high and mighty. There are many things that they're not willing to take out directly. I hope to get your help, Nicholas. I also hope to be able to directly contact the old kings as soon as possible. Okay. Chapter 1462. Han Dong had already signed his name on the contract. This contract was beneficial to both the Holy City and Han Dong himself. As long as he could determine Mr. Newton's true position, sharing technology with Mr. Newton was equivalent to contributing to the development of the Holy City. Not to mention, Mr. Newton would also provide comprehensive technical support to Han Dong's manor. At that time, Dr. Swollen and Mr. Newton could also have an in-depth discussion. When it came to steam engine mechanics, Professor Swollen was quite knowledgeable, perhaps even more so than Han Dong. As one of the rewards of the London game, the manor was taken over by the Old Grey King. During this period, when he inquired about Ghoul's technology, he would inevitably come into contact with Dr. Swollen. The Old Grey King would come into contact with him, and it would be with a superior. This would definitely be an opportunity for Dr. Swollen's growth, and he might even achieve a complete transformation. When Han Dong handed over the signed contract, he added, "Coincidentally, I have a chance. Coincidentally, I have a steam technology that was transferred from the Destiny realm. To be more precise, it should be biomechanical technology. At present, mechanical implantation can be achieved. The mechanical devices and steam power systems that are successfully implanted in the body can evolve with the growth of the organism. Of course, the extent of the final evolution is related to the materials used. I have seen the changes in the civilian area. This technology might be able to be used. These words made Newton's eyes light up. What he lacked was the link between machinery and biology, and Han Dong happened to be able to fill this gap. Newton's eyes glowed with excitement. Can it really be done? Yes. Although it hasn't been applied to the human body, it has been successfully connected to ghouls in real battles. From the collected combat data, the stability is guaranteed to be more than 95%. However, this technology is mainly in the hands of Dr. Swollen under my command. At present, my manner is being modified by the hybrid demons. When the modification is completed, I will take the initiative to contact Mr. Newton. In terms of steam technology, Dr. Swollen is more proficient than me. You can have an in-depth discussion then. Thank you very much. In addition, there are some things about the Holy City. I hope to get answers from Mr. Newton. You don't have to be so courteous with me. If you have any questions, just ask. Newton had long since changed his disguise and seriousness. Although his actions and speech were still very orthodox, he was very amiable towards Han Dong. There's still something I don't understand. When you met the 4 commanders at the entrance of the elevator, the great demon commander clearly didn't trust you. The other leaders also had their own opinions. I could roughly tell from their eyes. Since the leaders weren't completely supportive, why did they allow the holy halo to be above the parliament? They even took the initiative to come to the vault for various meetings. The reason why the Great Revolution can proceed so smoothly is because it has the support of the majority of the people, right? You're right. The reason why the great demon leader was dissatisfied with me was because I needed a lot of materials. After discussion, I hope to take 20% of the Holy City's resources. At the same time, taxes were levied on the knights of the Holy City. They were required to hand over 10% of their points every time they entered the Destiny realm to support the development of the Steam City. As for the fact that the Holy Ring had to be above the Parliament and become the new pinnacle of the Holy City, that was also a request that I made. The reason is very simple. I hope that the development of Steam technology can become the first priority in the future. The sight of the Holy Ring at the pinnacle could also be seen by the people of the city. It would be very helpful for the promotion of Steam technology throughout the city. Of course, I also made a corresponding compromise here. The Holy Ring is no longer an independent area of the machinery faith. It has become a public administrative area. Any important member of the Knights can go to the Holy Ring and enjoy high-level technical services for free. As for why they agreed to the above conditions, you, who participated in the great expedition and saw through the investor's true body, should be able to guess the answer, right? After all, the endless energy I provided should have played a key role during the great expedition, right? Mr. Newton, you're really good. Han Dong couldn't help but give him thumbs up. Newton continued, the endless energy during the great expedition was just a replica. The replica was not even 30% of the original. Even so, it was enough to be the source of the expeditionary army's advancement in Evernight. I also heard that during the Battle of London, the endless energy played a role in changing the situation in the final stage of the battle. Moreover, the fundamental operation of the Holy City is also inseparable from the steam energy I provided. Everyone has tasted the sweetness and found it hard to give up. Not to mention, the endless energy that I designed is here. Although the conditions I put forward have a certain degree of research selfishness, as long as it doesn't affect the stability and future development of the Holy City, everyone is willing to agree to all this. While speaking, Newton glanced at the investor beside him. The answer was already obvious. The investor was not only the commander of the Steam Knights, the owner of the Steam City, but also the true, endless energy. In a sense, he was the true trump card of the Holy City. As long as the investor was in charge, the energy of the Holy City would be inexhaustible and could also maintain a high intensity of energy output. Now that the land deed lower king, was bound to the holy city. With the investor secretly providing energy, the entire holy city would become indestructible and even surpass the main cities of hybrid demons of the same level. Time is precious. I didn't say anything else. When Nicholas returns your manor, we will share the technology. As for the middleman, please pay more attention to it. I hope to establish a connection between me and the old king, who is proficient in machinery, as soon as possible. No problem. I already have a preliminary candidate here. I don't know if Mr. Newton still remembers the incident of the old king that broke out in the Gain Forest a few years ago. The old king has a strange gear technology in his hands. With my current status, I should be able to try to communicate with him. Thank you, Nicholas. As long as it can promote the development of the holy city, I will do my best to help. Just like that, the technical cooperation was a process that far exceeded Han Dong's expectations. It was a perfect negotiation. Mr. Newton put one hand on Han Dong's shoulder and returned to the Holy Ring District with a very good relationship. The two talked and laughed, and it was impossible to see the difference in status. I will go outside the city next. When I come back, the manor will be almost finished. At that time, I will take the initiative to contact Mr. Newton. Okay, feel free to send me a private message if there is anything I can help with. Newton tapped his mechanical watch lightly, then waved goodbye to Han Dong. Sally, who was resting in the VIP area of the Holy Ring, also received the best treatment. She even didn't want to leave. Sally, things here are almost done. Get ready to go to the secret court. Chapter 1463. As Captain Hugo still had matters to attend to, he needed to wait for a while. Thus, Han Dong acted as a guide and led Sally to almost the entire holy city. He also visited the sister and mother of the original owner of Nicholas' body. His sister, Nina, who had been proficient in machinery since she was young, was now studying the mechanics of the Knight Academy. She was only one step away from breaking her seed. Not to mention the relationship with Nicholas. Just Nina's status as a trainee knight and her good performance in the academy was enough for the mother and daughter to enjoy the treatment of the middle class. In addition, they also made a trip to the mystery branch, where Han Dong was studying. When Han Dong arrived at the Dark Moon Tower in a carriage, there was still a butler who came out of the ground to receive him. Nicholas, what's behind this? Sally pointed to the swamp area behind the tower. She unexpectedly smelled a strong scent of witchcraft, and one of the scents was even a little overpowering. This is the witch swamp that the deputy director, which Chironia, is in charge of. Witch? Is it a witch like Helen? It shouldn't belong to that category. It's a multi-element witchcraft from the Destiny realm. Witches are still very powerful. She's also Mia's teacher. Mia? That little spider who's very close to you? Let's go. Bring me over to have a look. Haha. While walking on the suspension bridge of the swamp, which apprentices who lived in tree houses would occasionally poke their heads out. When they looked at Black Goat Sally, the warning from their own witchcraft scared them into hiding in the windows and under their blankets. They held onto the talismans supported by finger bones and toad skin and prayed continuously. When the two of them approached the school area in the middle of the swamp, as the alarm of intruders sounded in the swamp in advance, a powerful aura suddenly attacked and blocked the two of their path. Teacher Chironia and Great Plague Elder. Isn't this Nicholas? The Great Plague Elder immediately stretched out a strong arm and squeezed Han Dong's shoulder, affectionately feeling the changes in this young man's physique. As expected, you have completed the door opening during the Great Expedition. Moreover, the quality of the door opening is very high. Haha, as expected of the student chosen by Black and White. The witch's expression changed at the mention of Black and White, and she glared at the Great Plague Warden. Sally the Black Goat had already hidden half of her body behind Han Dong's back. She stared at the two of them warily, especially wary of the Great Plague Chieftain, who was dressed like a primitive tribe and had a giant halberd on his back. Another two mythical bodies. This human male was also exuding two different auras at the same time. It was an extremely rare dual aura. One of them should be similar to Hopper's power, while the other was similar to Eugenis' plague. They had completely different origins. There was a special type of plague with black spots residing in his body. Not only could it cause a large-scale invasion, it could also strengthen his body. The overall strength is no less than the mythical body we encountered in the London game room. There is no doubt about the potential of dual species. In the future, there is a high probability that it will break through the barrier of King Tier. I didn't expect there to be so many experts hidden in the human capital. At this moment, which Chironia glanced at Sally. She also smelled a rare scent of danger. Based on her experience, she searched her brain for the keyword, black goat. Nicholas, it seems that your sexual orientation is indeed biased towards the hybrid demons outside the city. My Mia is so outstanding, and you actually found a hybrid demon outside. No wonder she didn't say anything about you when she came to see you. However, this is also a good thing for her. With Mia's talent, if she can temporarily give up on feelings, it will be beneficial for her rapid growth. Where is Mia? I have arranged a special training for her together with the deputy leader of the Knights of Misfortune, Archimedes Fry. In addition, she said that because of you, she has already established a witchcraft connection with a sub-super world called the Hidden Nation. In the future, her fated training should be more in-depth. Okay, that's good. Since they had already greeted each other, Han Dong had no intention of staying any longer. Just as he was about to leave, the Great Plague chieftain gently pressed on his shoulder. Nicholas, I heard that you killed an enemy mythical body alone during the Great Expedition. Is that true? It's just a perception-type mythical body. When one reaches the mythical level, one must reach the mythical level in order to achieve a kill, regardless of the type. If such a thing really happened, it means that you, Nicholas, have the power to tear apart mythical bodies. Nicholas, you shouldn't be very busy now, right? Why don't you give a try with me? Han Dong was still very curious about the Great Plague chieftain's ability. After all, in the entire Holy City, only Han Dong and the Great Plague chieftain were known as dual training knights. The advantage of dual training was that the two seeds of fate germinated at the same time, forming a fused talent tree with a more stable foundation. In the future, there would be more and better options for talent selection. When a regular knight obtained talent points, there were only 2 options, but Han Dong had 3. Han Dong looked embarrassed. He did not want to lie in bed for the next few days, and the Holy City could not provide medical equipment similar to the Fight Club. He could only politely decline. Great Plague Chieftain, the main reason I was able to defeat the mythical body was that I used a forbidden technique with almost fatal side effects. After the battle, it was all thanks to Commander Olivia's treatment that my condition stabilized. I can't use this trick when I'm sparring with you, or might even leave permanent repercussions. Come to think of it, if I don't use special means, how can I cross such a huge level, let alone kill the other party? Then forget it. My ability is different from the other commanders, and it's difficult to control the strength of my attacks. I hope that after a while, Nicholas, you can stand on the same line with us and fight together, and let me see your true strength. I believe that it won't be long before that day comes. Okay, he left the Knight Academy. Han Dong also went to the last special area, which was also the place he had to go after careful consideration, the clock tower. There were 2 points that Han Dong had to verify. 1. The clockmaker wore the same whirlpool mask as the Black Tower staff. 2. Mr. Black and White's white personality and the clockmaker were quite close in private, and during the reform of the Holy City, the white personality was suppressed, or perhaps the clockmaker was also restricted. However, when Han Dong arrived at the clock tower, the clockmaker, who was supposed to manage and adjust the clock tower for life, was nowhere to be seen. Instead, it was replaced by a high-level god assistant from the machinery faith. Where did the clockmaker go? The cooperation between Han Dong and Mr. Newton had been officially announced to the Knights of Steam. Dear Mr. Nicholas, due to the Great Reform, all connections with fate need to be temporarily blocked. During this period, the clockmaker is confined to the lowest level of the Steam City and is not allowed to contact anyone. The clock tower is also temporarily closed. When the Great Reform is over and the time is right, the clockmaker will return to the clock tower. Okay, I got it. Han Dong was certain that the clockmaker had a close relationship with the Black Tower, and it might even be the staff sent by the Black Tower to the Holy City to supervise and manage the Gate of Fate. If this was the case, there might be one in every main city. When the clockmaker returns, I'll talk to Mr. Black and White again. If it's really closely related to the Black Tower, I might be able to help. Chapter 1464. Early morning. Han Dong stretched his arms and slowly sat up from his bed. This was a high-end hotel located on the second floor of the Holy City. Han Dong had been staying here for the past few days. However, Han Dong was the only one on the large bed. The bathroom was rather crowded. Two hybrid demons were playing in the bathtub. A letter with the symbol of the Knights of the Secret Language was stuffed into the room through the crack in the door. The letter was from Commander Hugo. Han Dong gently pushed open the bathroom door and stared at the two female hybrid demons who were stuck together with their tentacles intertwining. Hey, hurry up and pack up. Commander Hugo has sent a letter. Prepare to go to the Secret Academy. Also, Miss Meritus, are you ready? Void Toad, Meritus, the former leader of the Deepwater Toad Castle, was now completely broken. Her eyes were unfocused, and her body was wrapped by a few purple tentacles. She was twitching slightly. Han Dong had no choice but to let Sally answer his question. Sister Mary is fine. After an entire night of replenishing magic, her condition has reached its peak. Not to mention, she is an extremely rare void toad among the toad demons. Just her spatial characteristics alone are enough to give her extra points. Not to mention, Sister Mary's talent and abilities are above those of the same level. She has also been with you for a long time. Her body has already absorbed some of the void element. As long as she has Commander Hugo's recommendation, she will have no problem entering the academy. As for whether she can persevere or not, that will depend on herself. However, no matter how I look at it, Mary doesn't seem to be in a good condition. Sally's eyes flashed with a purple light. She stuck out her tongue and licked Mary's face. At the same time, she used the second mouth on her cheek to reply. Don't worry, she's just a little tired. We still need some time to get to the Secret Academy. She'll be fine after a good night's sleep. All right, let's go. Han Dong took the opportunity to put Meritus back into his body to prevent her from completely collapsing from Sally's teasing. After a period of consideration, Han Dong completely thought it through and decided not to continue using the space battery. Meritus had always been silently contributing. Since she was going to the secret court, she might as well give her a chance. If she could successfully enter the secret court, it would be an important opportunity for Mary. Once the Faceless Head finishes its upgrade, the void effect and space comprehension will also increase accordingly. You will no longer need Mary as a battery to upgrade, space affinity, and energy supply. Of course, if Meritus could achieve a mythical body while studying in the secret court, Han Dong would be happy to bring her back. Before leaving, Sally was going back to her alma mater, so she had to dress up. It wasn't just the decorations on the clothes. Even the purple crystal patterns on each of the tentacles had to be straightened out. By the way, Sally, is the main school very far from Earth? You should still rely on a spatial device similar to your black goats to directly teleport over, right? Sally, who was cleaning up the goat horns, looked into Han Dong's eyes through the reflection in the dressing mirror and replied, Yes, the main school is on your planet. It's not too far. It's just that it's a bit troublesome to find the school gate. The secret court is actually located on Earth. Han Dong always thought that such an important hybrid demon academy should have been established somewhere in the universe a long time ago. He didn't expect it to be on Earth. The structure of the main school is very special. Since the principal is Bop's teacher, the entire school's infrastructure is related to Void. It can easily be packaged and transferred like Markmas City in the London game. After all, this planet is the closest point to Destiny in the high-dimensional space coordinates. When the Gate of Destiny appeared on this planet, the secret court was also transferred over. Over the years, Many scholars in the Secret Court have been studying the Gate of Destiny. Due to the establishment of the Secret Court, Holy City branch in the Holy City, through the hands of Captain Hugo, a portal was created in a hidden room in the Secret Court that maintained a connection to the main school. However, this portal was semi-two-way. Individuals in the main school could use the portal to go directly to the branch. But if they went through the portal in the branch, they could only reach the periphery of the area where the main school was located. If they wanted to go to the main school, they had to go through a special time travel. This design also took into account that if the branch was invaded, it would not directly affect the main school. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Captain Hugo led the three of them to land on an endless sand dune. When they came into contact with the yellow sand onto their feet, Han Dong's Pharaoh attribute produced a homologous response. Han Dong immediately identified the area where they were. This is Egypt? The Secret Court's main school is actually located here? When we came, the humans living in this area did indeed call this place Egypt. The main school is also built around the Gate of Destiny in the former main city of humans here. By the way, Nicholas, your attribute should be noticed by the Vice Principal. Vice Principal? Since the Principal exists in the void most of the time, the main matters of the main school are handled by the Vice Principal. The Vice Principal is in charge of the main affairs of the campus. He is an old king who was born with the desert since ancient times. He has an ancient ability called Sand of Time, and, at the same time, he controls the rules of death in our world. Han Dong was shocked. This ability was almost the same as the attribute brought by Han Dong's left arm. Moreover, it was the first time Han Dong had heard of an old king that was directly related to death. The Raven God, who had found Han Dong, was only a mythical body. This made Han Dong's interest in the Vice Principal to be at its peak. On the other hand, when Sally, who was next to him, heard the words Vice Principal, her expression was more dignified. It was as if the Vice Principal had left a shadow in her heart. Please be sure to follow me for the rest of the journey. If you want to enter the main school smoothly, you need to go through at least 3 days and 3 nights of evolution. Although the main school is in the Egyptian area, it is deeply hidden in time. Once you're more than 10 meters away from me, you may fall into different time planes. Okay, the time travel officially began. Under Hugo's leadership, everyone was like an archaeological team exploring the desert. They even went to the pyramids to look for important reference objects called time slates. According to Captain Hugo, if they want to find out the rules of time, the slates hidden in the ruins were the only indicators. On the morning of the 4th day, the eternal night fog that filled the sky of Egypt dissipated on its own. Instead, a living sun rose from the horizon. On its surface, there was a huge eye of yellow sand. It brought with it the scorching sun and the yellow sand that filled the sky. At the same time, a large number of figures appeared in the originally desolate desert, each exuding a strong aura. Captain Hugo, were you deliberately stalling for time before? These hybrid demons should have the same purpose as me, right? Are they all here for the teacher selection? Haha. Every 2 years, the Secret Court will hold a public recruitment. Since the recruitment time is closer, you might as well wait until this time to come, so that I don't waste too many favors. It will be easier for you to establish yourself in the school through the public recruitment. Chapter 1465. Public Recruitment. Due to the intense competition within the Secret Academy, not only were students easily dissuaded, but they might even disappear. The burden on the teachers was heavier, and the competition was more intense. It could even be described as tragic. The evaluation of the title of lecturer was as cruel as hell. Every year, a large number of excellent teaching assistants would fail and be immediately dissuaded. They might even disappear or die during the evaluation period. Therefore, it was normal for teachers to be recruited. In addition to the direct recruitment within the school, it was also necessary to recruit external teachers. Excellent foreign hybrid demons could bring diversity to the Secret Academy, and sometimes there would even be unexpected gains. There are so many applicants. Looking around, Handong captured at least 30 hybrid demons who came to apply, and 4 of them exuded a mythical aura. The treatment provided by the Secret Academy for teachers is too excellent. Even if the assessment process is life-threatening, many hybrid demons are very interested. Once you become a teacher, even the lowest level of teaching assistant, you can enjoy privileges that the outside world can't touch. Let's put it this way. If an atavistic body could be hired as a professor in the Secret Academy, the probability of understanding mythical creatures will increase by at least 30%, and the mythical quality of the final structure will not be bad. B-level mythical creatures are normal for the Secret Academy teachers. There are also many A-level mythical creatures, and the probability of S-level is much higher. Handong nodded. Indeed, I also had the idea of applying because of the treatment of the Secret Academy. Captain Hugo, if a mythical creature came to apply, it should be easy to pass, right? It can only be said that mythical creatures have a certain advantage compared to you. There is no need for a strength test, but the overall assessment will not change. After all, the recruitment here is not for security, but for teachers. That's true. For a teacher like Pop, not many mythical creatures can compare to him. Let's go. The hot sun and the yellow sand that could easily absorb the moisture of the body made some ordinary individuals who came here by accident die in a short period of time. Only the strong with qualified strength could continue to move forward under the gaze of the eye of the yellow sand. After spending a few more hours moving through the desert, they finally saw the rumored greatest institution, the Miskatonic University. However, the scene in front of them was completely different from what Han Dong had expected. It was not like London, which was rebuilding on the basis of the original human ruins. There were no bloody streets or organ cavities like the ones in Toad. The secret court was carried on the back of a yellow sand giant, following the giant's footsteps as it moved through the desert. Is this the work of the vice principal? That's right. As long as it's in the desert, the vice principal's power is inexhaustible. This is only a small part of it. Next, we need to climb up the giant's body. What we need to take note of is that we are not allowed to help each other during this period. We need to rely on our own abilities to reach the school gate. In addition, remember not to stay in the same place for too long, or you will be swallowed by the yellow sand. After all, this is the vice principal's creation. The danger cannot be underestimated. Meritus, who was at the back, asked in a low voice, "Excuse me, can I use any ability?" Of course you can. You can even teleport directly to the school gate. I'll go over first. Everyone, gather at the school gate. Captain Hugo didn't use any ability and directly walked towards the yellow sand giant. A portion of the teachers who came to participate in the recruitment also noticed Hugo's suicidal behavior. They found it hard to understand why an individual who had the ability to decipher the stone slab would do such an irrational thing. When Hugo got close, the seemingly slow-moving giant suddenly changed its speed. With an inconceivable speed, it pressed down with its palm. The tiny figure of Hugo was instantly swallowed up. At the same time, due to the giant's palm pressing down, a strong sandstorm covering a radius of 10 miles was set off. However, some of the hybrid demons with better visual abilities saw an unforgettable scene in the next second. The man who should have been crushed into dust appeared on the giant's back, standing upright at the school gate. "Let's go, we'll go up as well." Sally, who was an outstanding student who had graduated from the secret court, was the first to go up. After calculating the critical point of the giant's attack range, a dark purple energy accumulated between the goat's hooves. Trample could be used on the enemy, but it could also be used to increase one's own strength. Boom! 2 giant goats' hooves could be seen landing on the surface of the yellow sand. Using the recoil from the trample, Sally jumped over 1,000 meters and landed at the school gate. This scene stunned many of the hybrid demons who came to apply, their eyes filled with fear. A portion of them also recognized Sally. Isn't this the 4th origin substance? Why is such a person applying? Although they were somewhat afraid, this did not affect their application. There was no upper limit to the secret court's recruitment. As long as one passed, they would be able to obtain a teacher certificate. Immediately after, everyone used their own methods to climb up the giant and passed the most basic and simple test. Most of the applicants did their best to avoid contact with the giant. They flew, jumped, and other methods to reach the school gate on the giant's back. Nicholas, aren't you going? Miss Mary, you go first. With your spatial ability, it should be easy for you to get up. I have some personal matters to attend to, so I'll leave at the end. Okay. Sir, can you give me some water? As a toad demon, although she had prepared a lot of water in advance, it had already been completely used up during the 3 days and 3 nights of traveling in the desert. Especially during the last part of the hot and dry journey, it was not friendly to Mary. Open your mouth. Okay, Mary had long regarded Han Dong as an existence similar to Akin. She knelt on the ground as if she was receiving a gift and opened her completely dry mouth. Squeak, squeak, a deep-sea tentacle extended from Han Dong's palm. In order to ensure rapid and effective water replenishment, whoosh, the entire tentacle directly pierced into the throat and went deep into the body, attaching itself to the various organs in the body that needed to replenish water. Meritus took this opportunity to madly absorb all the water. Every part of her body became glossy, especially her 2 conspicuous long legs. When the deep-sea tentacle was removed from her body, Mary was even a little reluctant. She hurriedly used her tongue to lick the seawater residue on the tentacle clean. Thank you, sir. I'll go first. There was no need to worry about Mary's characteristics. Although his leap was not as high as Sally's, it was still a distance of over 100 meters. Before the yellow sand swept over, he used the void toad's self-devouring to complete the teleportation with the least consumption of spatial energy and appeared directly at the school gate. As soon as he appeared, he was hugged from behind by Sally, one hand touching his wet thigh directly. Mary, what were you doing just now? Nothing. Sir used the secret technique of the deep sea to help me replenish some water. Oh, it looks very intimate. I almost misunderstood, right? Why hasn't Nicholas come up yet? I don't know. Sir said he would wait until the end. Is he thinking of some evil ideas again? On Han Dong's side, the magic I had been fully opened when it saw the yellow sand giant. The special vision was constantly analyzing the structure of the giant, trying to understand this superb yellow sand method. This giant is indeed a magic creation, but it can constantly absorb energy from the surrounding sand and move endlessly. This is the secret technique of the yellow sand that I can't touch yet. After I successfully enter the school, I must find a chance to meet this vice principal, or let him pay attention to me in advance. After the surrounding candidates had all boarded the giant, Han Dong slowly walked forward. He did not use the void teleportation in one step. He did not evolve various types of wings to fly to the school gate in a simple way. Instead, he used the simplest climbing method to climb up the yellow sand giant's body. This was undoubtedly the most dangerous way to do it. However, a puzzling situation happened. The yellow sand giant, which would have attacked indiscriminately, did not show the slightest hostility to Han Dong. It did not show any offensive means and allowed the young man to climb up. It was like an old acquaintance. It did not care what Han Dong did to him at all. Chapter 1466. The Secret Court recruited students from all over the universe. In order to allow teachers and students from different regions and different races to adapt to the environment of the Secret Court, its basic construction was integrated with a prism technology from the depths of the void. It could reflect the corresponding campus style according to the vision of different individuals. Of course, this technology was not only adapted to the visual level, but also to other senses. Human perspective, administrative building, the entire top floor had been transformed into the style of a yellow sand mausoleum. Other than the commissioner in charge of this floor, very few people would take the initiative to come here. If one approached this floor without a valid reason, it was entirely possible to be squeezed into a mummy and become a part of the floor. Behind a stone door engraved with ancient words was the office of the vice-chancellor. At present, A commissioner was internally reporting the situation of this external hiring. Vice Chancellor, the number of external hires who came to the school this time has obviously increased compared to previous years. The current increase in the number of people has reached 68%, and the overall quality has also improved. Most of the applicants can easily decipher the stone slab and find the corresponding time dimension. The rate of successfully climbing onto the back of a giant has also reached more than 85%. We should be able to gain many outstanding external teachers this year. Following the commissioner's report, a hoarse and deep voice came from the depths that could not be seen by the naked eye. Perhaps it has something to do with the influence of the London game. Moreover, there's a very special individual among this group of external hires. In the upcoming teacher assessment, you will observe the state of this individual for me. The commissioner was suddenly shocked. He knew very well that the vice-chancellor usually only needed to know about the changes in the data when it came to issues regarding the bottom level. This time, he actually took the initiative to mention an outsider who had not passed the teacher assessment. What kind of existence can get the vice-chancellor's attention? Could it be that a famous mythical body or origin entity is coming to our school to take up a post? There was no answer in the darkness. Instead, it threw out a moving picture constructed using a precision sand crystal. The commissioner's eyeballs were separated from the picture and attached to the picture to observe it carefully. A young man who looked like a human was actually climbing onto the back of the yellow sand giant. During this period, he was not restricted by the yellow sand or attacked by the giant. How did he do it? The setting of the yellow sand colossus will attack everything that comes close, even if it is our school's professors. This outsider who looks like a human should have analyzed the colossus's recognition rule in advance. He is also proficient in the same yellow sand ability as me. Through the subtle control of yellow sand, he allowed himself to be recognized as sand by the colossus. You'll be in charge of the assessment this time. In the meantime, remember to pay attention to his performance in the teacher examination. If his performance is not bad, bring him to see me directly. Yes. The commissioner's expression changed a lot in an instant, and he rushed to the examination room as fast as he could. On the back of the yellow sand colossus, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Han Dong used the most direct method to climb up. Captain Hugo also looked at Han Dong meaningfully, roughly guessing what Han Dong was thinking. However, everyone's gaze quickly shifted away from Han Dong. No matter what form the hybrid demons were in, they all stared at the school gate nervously. Because of the prism effect, every hybrid demon could see the school gate differently. It could be the sewn-up abdomen of a rotting corpse, a squirming gate made of countless insect limbs, or a secret door made of countless strange faces. However, in Han Dong's eyes, it was a solemn and majestic black iron gate, with pictures of various books mounted on it. This is some kind of vision technology that targets individuals? No, even the sense of smell and touch can be changed according to the individual. Is this some kind of special effects spell from the Dreamlands? Han Dong's magic, I noticed the prism technology's effect, and he immediately thought of an acquaintance, the 6 Prime, Miss Helen. At this moment, a person in charge with white hair and stubble, dressed in a gentleman's attire and wearing a pair of rusty glasses, squeezed out from the gap of the gate. His gaze quickly swept across the outsiders gathered outside the school gate, and he was about to announce the relevant rules of the external teacher recruitment. His expression changed greatly, and even his body twitched slightly. In the hybrid demon's vision, he could even see various lumps of flesh merging and overlapping, and a rainbow glow shining through the blood vessels all over his body. Professor Hugo, why are you back? Winnick, why are you in charge of the external teacher recruitment this time? At this point, the person in charge, known as Winnick, split a tentacle and spoke privately with Hugo. This is a decision made by the vice principal at the last minute. The number and quality of the outsiders this time are very high, so it is better for me to be in charge. After all, this is a critical period, and many nominal teachers in the school are unable to return to work. There is a need to bring in a large group of teachers to ensure the stability of the teaching. Right? Are you preparing to return to the main school to continue teaching? Why would I? After what happened in the past, I will definitely attract dissatisfaction if I return to teach. Forget it. This time, I'm only here to recommend a student and a teacher. Saying this, Hugo shared the target he had captured with the other party. This is the toad demon with the ancestral form. Moreover, it is the rare void toad attribute. Since it is your recommendation, with this rare attribute, there is no problem in becoming a student. Let me take a look at the other teacher you recommended. This is Winnick was the commissioner who had appeared in the vice principal's office earlier. The outsider that the vice principal had asked him to pay attention to was the same person as the person that Hugo had recommended. Hugo, let me tell you, the reason I was replaced is because of this outsider who looks like a human. The vice principal personally asked me to pay attention to this person. What is this person's background? You will naturally know after you enter the school. In order to allow you to take the test without any bias, I will not reveal it for now. Anyway, according to the rules of the secret court, no matter what kind of existence wants to be a teacher, they have to go through the corresponding test. Do you have to be so mysterious? I believe that today will be very interesting. All right, let that toad demon come over first. I will instruct my subordinates to bring her to handle the admission procedures. After the test here is over, we will have a private gathering. Okay, when Meritus was recruited, she was happy, but also had a reluctant expression. Go quickly, Sally, and I will stay in the school for a while. We can meet at any time. Okay. After Meritus left, the person in charge began to make arrangements for the teacher test. Candidates who have reached the mythical level, please enter the school through the side door. You do not need to take the strength test. The staff will bring you to the qualification test area. The rest of the staff, follow me. I, Winnick Popodi, will personally take charge of the strength test this time. My requirements for you are very simple. Since you want to teach in the secret court, your strength must at least be ranked near the top among the student body. Chapter 1467. Before the official teacher exam, the strength test was a must. However, although there was a baseline for the strength test, the test would be different depending on the person in charge. Teachers who had not reached the mythical level were led to a sealed area for the strength test. The vice principal specially assigned Winnick to choose an efficient, safe, and direct method of testing. An irregular flesh-like crystal peeled off from his palm. It was about the size of a normal human head. It was Han Dong's first time seeing something that had the toughness of crystal, but was still flesh-like in nature. This meat crystal is a derivative of my body. It maintains a certain connection with me. In the following strength test, you only need to use your full strength to attack it. It doesn't matter if it's mental, secret, or physical attacks. The meat crystal would respond to any attack that came in contact with it. I will use the intensity of the response to determine if you're qualified to take the teacher exam. All right, since it was not easy for you to find this place through time travel, I'll give you 2 chances. Line up and start the test. Han Dong habitually stood at the back. After all, the teacher exam had to wait until everyone finished the test. Black Goat Sally followed beside him and stared at the flesh-shaped crystal with interest. Sally, why do you want to stay here and take the exam? Can't you just apply for a visiting scholar with your identity as a prime substance? Can I also want to take the test? Sally glared at Han Dong fiercely. The reason why she wanted to stay was simple. It wasn't to show off, nor was it for fun. She simply wanted to stay with Han Dong, and, at the same time, she wanted to see Han Dong's performance in the teacher examination. All right, do you know this, Winnick? It doesn't matter. He shouldn't be a teacher. He should be a commissioner in the school. He is in charge of certain things. For example, writing documents, guarding secret treasures, or running errands for some higher-ups. A very special mythical body. The strength test had begun. The hybrid demons who dared to come here to hire teachers were either recommended by a large tribe or were lone wolves who had a lot of information about their own abilities. These atavistic existences are quite something. In just 10 seconds, Han Dong had completely turned into a spectator, carefully observing the rather interesting strength test. An individual with a head full of parasites suddenly lifted the black raincoat that covered his body. A total of 12 long, swollen parasites crawled out of his body and weaved an ancient magic circle in the air, creating an extremely terrifying corrosive secret technique. Some kind of corrosive substance that could affect reality splashed out. Not bad. Next, he was followed by a man with a trunk like that of an elephant. His body was swollen like a floating corpse. His entire body was covered with blood, crystal-like lumps. It exuded a high-purity bloodline aura that was completely different from the bloodlines Han Dong had come into contact with. As he stretched out his arm, he chanted an ancient incantation. The palm blossomed, flesh-shaped, and peeled off in all directions. Several blood-red meatballs the size of marbles drilled out of the crystal and stuck to the surface of the meat crystal. Boom! At the moment of the explosion, the entire test area was dyed red. Even Sally was affected by the blood resonance of all living creatures. The meat crystal had also shrunk into a ball due to the explosion, even leaving some dents on its surface. Very strong, not far from mythical structure. I hope your academic knowledge is also qualified. Go to the lounge and wait for a while. Next, this hybrid demon with an elephant trunk had no intention of leaving the test area. He also wanted to observe the strength of the other outsiders as a spectator, so he leaned to the side and rested for a while. However, his blood-like eyes stared at one of the participants for a long time, Han Dong. When he used the Scarlet Secret technique just now, there were only 2 living creatures present who were not affected at all. One was the person in charge of the test, and the other was this young man who looked like a human. The reason Han Dong was not affected was very simple. Count was guarding the blood in his body, and with the adaptation and shielding of the Black Vortex torso, he was naturally not affected by the blood of the same level. Descendants of the high mountains are really rare. Before this Count was defeated by you, he hated this kind of guy the most. They were the direct descendants of the blood ancestor, and at the same time, there were also the supervisors who observed the situation of the various bloodline groups at any time. As long as they come to the door, they must be served with the best blood wine, and they will not even be treated well. If it were not for the secret court prohibiting all fighting, this Count would have come out now to teach this guy a lesson. Han Dong gave a very objective evaluation. If you don't use the sacred blood characteristic with your current level, you should be on par with this guy. This guy is only 1 step away from mythical, and his strength is second only to primordial. Give me your body. See if I don't beat him to death. Han Dong immediately cut off the voice transmission and continued to watch the highly enjoyable strength test. Among the subsequent applicants, there were also quite a few people with amazing strength. However, no matter what method they used, at most, they could only make the flesh crystal produce a strong resonance reaction or leave a mark. It was impossible to destroy it. The reason was very simple. As a part of Winex, the flesh crystal itself also carried mythical characteristics, and to destroy it, it had to be at the same level. Soon, it was Han Dong and Sally's turn. Sally, you go first. Okay. Sally slowly walked forward with her extremely charming steps. Just as she was about to use the secret technique of the Black Forest, the examiner suddenly stretched out his hand. Sally Lovehooves? As an outstanding graduate of the secret court, you are qualified to directly apply to be an internal teacher. Are you sure you want to participate in the test? As an external teacher? Forget it. I want to see how far I can go. Being a teacher will limit my freedom. This time, I'm here to apply for a period of time as a visiting scholar. Absolutely. When the test here is over, I'll handle it for you personally. Next, when Sally left, her eyes were fixed on Han Dong the entire time. Many people present also looked at this human youth who had an intimate relationship with the 4th primordial and had come here through the basic method of climbing. Is it ready? Han Dong asked. You can start at any time. As the person in charge made a please gesture, Han Dong slowly raised his left arm, revealing the original state of the undying arm. Sand flowed between the blood vessels and the flesh, and several bandages hung naturally from the skin. Perhaps due to the influence of the Black Pharaoh, his entire left arm was faintly glowing with a black luster. The demonic eye opened. The withered left hand made a weak, squeezing motion, the sound of the crystal shattering and the body squeezing together. The flesh crystal used for the strength test exploded in the air, and the person in charge, Winex, showed a pained expression. Chapter 1468. The fleshy crystal was completely shattered. This means that Han Dong's attack has reached the mythical level. Such a scene made the mountain descendant who had an elephant trunk and maintained a special focus on Han Dong decisively give up all impure thoughts. He shifted his gaze away and walked towards the lounge. Even the most primitive and ancient emotion was generated in his heart: fear. According to the power Han Dong displayed, it is entirely possible for him to see through his impure thoughts. If he is narrow-minded, his life will be in danger. The only person who wasn't surprised was Sally. She was already used to it and was even a little unhappy. Is Nicholas doing this on purpose? Is he trying to attract attention the moment he enters the school? That's right. His real goal isn't to teach here for a long time, but to obtain the qualifications to enter the great library and borrow advanced books. If he does this, he can indeed speed up the process of obtaining a title. Seriously, to cause such a big commotion the moment he enters the school, it will easily attract the attention of other females. How annoying. Venezia touched the white stubble on his face and recalled everything that happened just now. The fleshy crystal is also a part of his body. The attack that Han Dong used just now had a very direct feedback. It seemed to shatter in an instant, but at the same time, it contained see-through, no-process casting, and disintegrate magic that can reach the mythical level. In Venezia's body, there was still a trace of death magic that had never been seen before. It contains the death aura of crows, but only a part of it. This shouldn't belong to our side's ability system. Yellow sand control, death magic. No wonder the vice principal asked me to pay attention to this person. Just his current performance is enough to bring him to meet the vice principal. However, since he has such a performance, he should be able to perform amazingly in the teacher assessment, as expected of a talent recommended by Hugo. After the assessment here is over, I will have to investigate this person's background. Not bad. Go to the lounge and wait for the notification of the teacher assessment. Okay, as there weren't many people left, Han Dong made a gesture of farewell to Sally. Let's meet in school. You should hurry and settle the visiting scholar matter. You have to be careful in the teacher assessment. That thing has nothing to do with strength. Don't get eliminated. Don't worry. My earliest profession was a teacher. Just as Han Dong stepped into the lounge with a relaxed expression, a group of mantis demons of various shapes and sizes immediately surrounded him. One of the mantis demons, whose entire body was covered in tubes, recognized his identity. You are the biggest winner in the London game. The Bishop of the Night from London. That's right, it must be you. Even Sally the Black Goat maintained a close relationship with you. That's even more true. Lord Bishop, you actually came to participate in the secret court's teacher examination. I'm Cobalt Brain Weissman from the Migo clan. Nice to meet you here. After his identity was recognized, almost all the hybrid demons in the resting area surrounded him. They wanted to see the young man who had performed better than the original in the London game room. When everyone becomes a teacher of the Secret Academy, we'll have plenty of time to talk in private. For now, let's focus on the upcoming examination. Your Eminence is right. The hybrid demons, who were originally in a competitive relationship, were as obedient as little fans. They immediately opened a path for Han Dong. There was even a female who thought that she was pretty and secretly struck up a conversation with Han Dong. Her method of striking up a conversation was also quite novel. She brought her large intestine that was dragging on the ground to Han Dong's side. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Some kind of material was even squeezing between the intestines, saying that there was the most essential thing that she wanted to give to Han Dong. Although the large intestine emitted a faint fragrance, Han Dong, as a human, found it hard to accept such a scene. After tactfully declining, Han Dong secretly peeked at the end of the large intestine to see what would come out. In the end, the material that was squeezed out from the end of the intestine did not disappoint Han Dong. Other than the color and taste, everything else was the same. As the last few candidates entered the lounge, the person in charge also followed in. Next, they would enter the most important teacher examination. The teacher examination will be carried out in a sealed individual area. As long as your performance meets the teacher standards, you will be issued an exclusive teacher certificate for the secret court on the spot. After saying that, a pitch-black passage appeared in front of the lounge. The passage was separated by a sufficient number of individual rooms. The interior could be completely the same, or it could correspond to a different teacher examination. Han Dong did not care and casually picked a room. As soon as he stepped into the room, the built-in barrier was immediately activated. In front of Han Dong was a set of ancient tables and chairs, as well as a piece of white paper made of flesh skin. After a while, the voice of the person in charge came from the four walls. The theme of the teacher examination this time is knowledge transmission. Please condense the knowledge that you have grasped onto this piece of white paper within half an hour. The quality of the content is not up to standard. The topic is not up to standard. The content is not up to standard. Or if you're not able to express your knowledge within the area limited by the white paper, you will be considered to have failed the examination. You may begin. This kind of examination made Han Dong's eyes light up. This kind of examination was acceptable even in a human university. Under the conditions of limited time and space, expressing one's knowledge as much as possible was indeed an intuitive way to assess whether or not one had the talent to be a teacher. However, this kind of method is definitely not simple even in the top-ranked university in the universe. If you don't give me some real solid information, you will definitely be eliminated. The passing rate of the various tests in the early stages, such as time travel, climbing giants, and strength tests, were all very high. Now, the examination that is going on is the most difficult one. I estimate that at least half of the people will be eliminated here. Through this kind of simple method, the school can see at a glance what kind of teacher is meaningful to the development of the school. Since that is the case, give them some solid information that they have never seen before. Whoosh! For tentacles that could precisely dispense ink at the tip drilled out and were used as pens. Han Dong directly condensed the ghoul transformation proposal that he and Dr. Swollen had written together on the front of the white paper. He rehearsed it in his mind in advance, making sure that the last word would take up the entire white paper. At the same time, he also drew an extremely exquisite ghoul dissection diagram on the back of the white paper. The diagram contained a detailed analysis and preset modification of the skin, bones, flesh, and eyeballs. It was successfully completed in 15 minutes. The paper followed a special passage and was handed to the person in charge of reviewing the document. This group of clerks whose brains grew all over their bodies, or rather, their bodies grew on their brains, were all connected to a special nerve that was directly connected to the Secret Academy's database. They could quickly determine whether the relevant content was important to the school's knowledge construction and promotion while reading the document. Because the Secret Academy's knowledge system was already very large. For external teachers, as long as the repetition rate did not exceed 90%, it was considered pass. Those who had a repetition rate of less than 50% were considered excellent talents. However, after a long period of comparison, the repetition rate of Han Dong's writing was only 3%. Just as the clerk was about to pass on the sensational news, a voice suddenly rang out. Winnick, who was in charge of the assessment, placed his palm on the clerk's brain to erase the memory and took away the relevant document in his hand. Staring at the 7% repetition rate report in his hand, Winnick's slightly solemn face also hid a hint of surprise. He immediately carried out a comprehensive review of the document submitted by Han Dong and judged the value of the document from his perspective. Where the hell did this talent come from? I must let him meet with the vice principal first. I hope he is not here to deliberately cause trouble. The value of this manuscript is enough for him to directly pass the lecturer's assessment. If it can be more detailed and in-depth, even if he is promoted to associate professor, there is nothing to say. I hope we have found a treasure. Chapter 1469. After Han Dong submitted the examination paper, he waited for about 5 minutes. A string of swollen and deformed material suddenly fell from the top of his head. Splat! The whole lump fell on the stone table. It looked like a living lump of meat with protruding blood vessels. The top of the lump of meat had a small hole with teeth that looked like a mouth. It seemed to require some kind of object to be inserted. At the same time, a notification came from around the room. Congratulations, Warren Nicholas. You have passed the Secret Academy's teacher examination. Please insert your finger into the registration body. The corresponding teacher qualification certificate will be created according to the characteristics of your blood. Obviously, the registration body was this lump of meat. As Han Dong inserted his finger from the top, the teeth embedded inside bit through his skin. At the same time, there were several blood vessels connected to the finger wound, sucking blood and reading data. The sacred blood attribute was suppressed and hidden by Han Dong. Otherwise, he would have directly purified this kind of hybrid demon flesh. After reading enough information, the lump of meat immediately began to self-compress. A special teacher certificate full of blood vessels was created on the spot. The internal record recorded Han Dong's basic information. His title was the lowest level of teaching assistant. In addition, in the erase column, Han Dong was marked as. In other words, according to the identification characteristics of the lump of meat, it was unable to identify Han Dong's race. This should be fixed later. After obtaining the teacher qualification certificate, the secret passage at the back of the secret room also opened. All the new teachers who passed the examination would be gathered in a certain hall. There would be a very senior professor who would explain the relevant information to the new teachers. However, Han Dong skipped this step and went straight into the campus. Prism effect. Han Dong saw a campus area with a very high green coverage. Except for the protective, thick fog, everything looked very normal. It even made Han Dong feel like he had returned to campus life. However, this feeling was broken in less than a minute by a strange whistle. A special car was driving along the campus road towards Han Dong. It was not a mechanical product, but a living vehicle. To be more precise, it was a vehicle that was modified from a living body. It was a worm that was nearly 5 meters long. Due to the prism effect, the image of the worm in Han Dong's eyes was an extremely gluttonous fatty that was crawling quickly on the road. Because he had been working in transportation for a long time, he had grown many small arms from his fat to help his fat limbs crawl at high speed. The front of the car corresponded to a bald head. More than 10 tubes were inserted into his cheeks, and the other end of the tubes was connected to the car's fuel tank. Every time he crawled a certain distance, the tank would send a delicious nutrient solution into his mouth. In Han Dong's field of vision, the fatty was crawling over quickly. He had a happy smile on his face as he sucked in the delicious nutrient solution. Ha! The fat patted the ground, and the car stopped in front of Han Dong. A door-shaped crack appeared on the fat body that was completely disproportionate to the head. It was opened from the inside by someone. Mr. Winnick? Nicholas, due to your special performance during the assessment, a certain lord is very interested in you. Get in the car. Okay. Han Dong stepped into the warm meat compartment. The interior actually corresponded to the structure of the car in the form of flesh and blood. Sitting on the comfortable and warm leather seat, there were all kinds of convenient devices hanging from the top, such as optical nerves. Through nerve connection, one could obtain the worm's vision and enjoy the pleasure of driving in the first person. One of the tubes in the car only needed to suck gently to drink the delicious minced meat juice. Or one could press the meat bubble button and immediately enter sleep mode. One would completely sink into the flesh-shaped cushion and enjoy an absolutely quiet and warm sleep experience. When the car reached its destination, sleep mode would automatically turn off. At that moment, Winnick, who was sitting by the side, was flipping through the ghoul report that Han Dong had just submitted. He asked curiously, "You seem to have a unique understanding in the field of ghouls modification. The information you submitted during the assessment was quite amazing. Even in the Secret Academy, there is no such in-depth research on low-level ghouls. After our preliminary review, your research is extremely authentic and can expand the Secret Academy's knowledge system. We expect to arrange for you to carry out related teaching work in the bioengineering major. However, the specific location can only be confirmed after meeting the Lord. Which old king do you belong to?" "Well, speaking of which, Mr. Winnick, with your identity in the school, it should be easy for you to find my information, right? There are two ways for me to check your information: internal school files and external channels. The first method is currently unavailable. As I am the person in charge of this teacher assessment, I am prohibited from directly checking the applicant's information to prevent it from affecting the objective evaluation of the assessment. The second method is because the Secret Academy is set up in the dynamic time dimension, and the overall management is basically completely closed. If I want to contact external forces, I have to go to the communication room set up by the Secret Academy in a fixed area of the school. Furthermore, I have to submit a series of applications before I can contact the outside world. It's very troublesome to operate. So that's how it is. As for me, I should be a human in essence. I came from the Holy City with Captain Hugo." "The Holy City? The human city that has just been listed as a king-level city-state? No wonder your attacks have characteristics that don't belong to our world. However, the attributes you display are also mixed with the characteristics of the hybrid demons, right? At the very least, you should have some connection with one of the old kings, right?" Han Dong didn't hide anything and directly revealed a series of identities. The deep-sea imprint appeared on the back of his left hand, and the yellow imprint appeared on the back of his right hand. At the same time, a special aura that symbolized the Gray Envoy appeared in his head. This display made Winnick's eyes widen. He suddenly remembered that a few days ago, he accidentally saw a piece of news on the front page of the school newspaper. It was related to the London game. It said that an atavistic existence suppressed the current generation origin essence and obtained the greatest victory in the London game. He received the personal award from the Grey Old King and was given the honorary title of Grey Envoy. It's actually you. This way, everything could be explained. As the fourth origin essence, why would Sally, who was known as the Black Goat Princess, take the initiative to get close to him and have an intimate relationship with him? Why could he reach a level that no one could touch in the teacher assessment? Most importantly, this kind of talent who was the best in the London game was also good at research and teaching. Winnick was very excited. If he could keep this kind of talent in the school, it would be very important for the school's overall development. A youth who could suppress Bop by a head. Interesting. I have to quickly let him talk to the vice principal. The vehicle arrived. Under the guidance of Winnick, Han Dong stepped into the important building of the Secret Academy for the first time, the administration building. However, the moment Han Dong stepped in, the disguise of his left arm automatically disappeared, revealing the original state of the undying arm. Grains of sand kept falling on the clean floor. At the same time, in the office at the top of the administration building, an eye hidden in the yellow sand suddenly opened. Chapter 1470. Resonance. The administrative building had multiple barriers built into it, and each floor was equivalent to an independent space that was exclusively enjoyed by the senior personnel of the director level. However, when Han Dong stepped into the administrative building, he resonated with the vice principal on the top floor. It could be seen how strong the resonance between the two was. In an instant, Han Dong's consciousness seemed to be drawn to the dark side of the world that transcended time and space, dark limbo. In the depths of a decaying mausoleum, Han Dong saw a special old king that looked like a shriveled dead baby. It was as if it had never breathed when it was born, and the shroud wrapped around its body had an ancient history that was equivalent to the universe. The strip that looked like an umbilical cord between its navel was moving back, indicating that Han Dong should go and see it. Nicholas! Nicholas! When he came back to his senses, the person in charge, Winnick, was shouting from the side. The hall was covered with a layer of black sand that symbolized death. Sorry, Without waiting for Han Dong to finish, the person in charge immediately said, "Did your consciousness see the vice principal just now? I can vaguely sense a kind of consciousness guiding effect. It's incredible that you can actually resonate with the vice principal's consciousness." Han Dong was also ecstatic. As expected, the person who asked me to come here is the vice principal. Han Dong's emotions were expressed through a somewhat crazy smile. This way, his goal would be achieved. Ever since Captain Hugo told him about the vice principal, especially when his ability was highly similar to his own, Han Dong had been thinking about how to meet the vice principal as soon as possible. Whether it was climbing the Colossus or performing an examination, Han Dong did not hold back and did his best to show off himself. Pay attention to controlling your emotions. The vice principal's personality is difficult to measure even in the hybrid demon circle. If you do anything disrespectful or have any problems with your words, you may be in danger. I don't want an excellent teacher like you to fall just like that. If you're ready, follow me. Okay, it was located in the mausoleum area of the administrative building. The vice principal is in the deepest part. I still need to be responsible for the finishing work of the teacher assessment, so I won't follow you. Okay. Han Dong walked in a mausoleum passageway that had a completely different style from the words administrative building. Russell, the sand in the mausoleum flowed like water, bringing with it a very direct sense of the passage of time. If a normal mantis demon walked through this passage, they would die of old age if they were not careful. From time to time, a tentacle made of yellow sand would emerge from the wall. Once touched, the individual would instantly turn into sand and die of old age, becoming a part of the area. However, when Han Dong faced these tentacles, he didn't feel any danger. Instead, he felt a sense of familiarity. This feeling prompted the immortal arm to slowly reach out and touch it. A strange phenomenon occurred. The yellow sand tentacles actually took the initiative to wrap themselves around Han Dong's arm, and even took the initiative to transfer death energy into it. As the death aura entered his left arm, Han Dong experienced a never-before-seen death attribute. This was a type of ancient death that I had never seen before. This type of ancient death covered not only living creatures, but also all matter. In other words, it could directly affect time. I really came to the right place. I didn't expect that I would have such an opportunity when I went to the Secret Academy's library to learn new knowledge. Han Dong suppressed the excitement in his heart and came to the stone door in the deepest part of the mausoleum. Rumble. The stone door in a rolling form opened by itself. The corpse oil lamps hanging on the wall of the stone room lit up one by one. Although the entire floor was in the style of a mausoleum, the interior of the stone room catered to the theme of a campus and was designed to look like an office. Bookcases made of yellow sand were placed on both sides. Inside the crescent-shaped office desk sat the vice principal's external mimicry. It was a mummy wrapped in a shroud. His hands and feet were bound. Yellow sand tentacles stretched out from between the shrouds to handle all kinds of documents. An eyeball made of yellow sand floated in the head area. Because it was a mimicry made of yellow sand, Han Dong was unable to determine the other party's true level. It was like a middle-level old king like Bufo, but to a certain extent, it was close to a high-level old king. Greetings, Vice Principal. Han Dong used the most ancient mantis demon language to greet him. Crack. The mummy's head split open from the middle. Tiny sandworms of unknown species crawled all over his dry mouth. Through the friction between the worm's limbs and the yellow sand flowing in the throat, it emitted an ancient sound that made people itch and stab their whole body. I didn't expect that the winner of the London game would come to the Secret Academy to participate in the teacher assessment. I also didn't expect that you would have an ability similar to mine. Before we talk about your profession in depth, I need to verify something. This is very important for my position. I hope you can answer honestly. Yes. How was your relationship with Pop Minda? Han Dong's heart skipped a beat. He thought that the vice principal would ask about the origins of the yellow sand and death on his body. Who knew that it would be such a question? How to answer? Pop was the youngest professor in the secret academy and was rumored to be the most valued student of the Void Principal. He was even known as the Child of the Void. If he answered that their relationship was not good, the vice principal might have concerns and deliberately keep a distance from Han Dong. But if he answered deceitfully and was exposed, it might even anger the vice principal and lead to serious consequences. Anyway, my original intention of coming to the secret academy was to take a look at the library. Even if the vice principal doesn't value me, I can still obtain the title of associate professor through my own means. Even if the school doesn't like me, I can just go to the center of chaos to upgrade my head. There's no need to lie, just tell the truth. Although Pop and I did have experience working together during the London game, but due to some subjective factors, our relationship is not very good. How bad is it? We usually don't have any interactions, but there may be conflicts in some matters where there are disputes of interest. Just as Han Dong was prepared to be asked out of the vice principal's office. Smack! An arm made of yellow sand landed steadily on Han Dong's shoulder. Very good. Very good. I don't quite understand what the vice principal means. In this school, there's almost no young teacher who can be compared to Pop. So much so that his reputation on campus has exceeded the conventional balance point. We urgently need an outstanding young teacher to carry out the balance restriction. Your performance in the London game was better than Pop's, so naturally you could take on this responsibility. Warren Nicholas, will you become a specially hired teacher directly under me? In addition to your usual lectures, I will give you special training in private so that you can adapt to the school's rules and participate in the title evaluation in advance. I'm willing. With such an opportunity in front of him, Han Dong naturally would not let it go. However, he felt a little strange about the vice principal's words. In addition to the so-called balance restriction, Han Dong also faintly heard some dissatisfaction in the vice principal's voice. It was a dissatisfaction towards Pop and the existence behind him. Chapter 1471. Since you're helping me now, I have to make a request. First of all, I don't want you to get too much attention in the early days of school. Since you're the biggest winner of the London game, even if the news inside the secret court is relatively closed, this kind of big event will be published in the school newspaper. Once you have any relatively eye-catching performance, there should be a lot of teachers and students who will recognize you, not to mention Pop, who has the same experience as you. During the teaching period, I need you to temporarily hide your identity. With the gray characteristics you have, you should be very good at disguising. Let me see. Okay. Disguise has always been Han Dong's best method. If Faceless Head is upgraded to the next level, the effect will be even better. Since the vice principal made the request, and in Han Dong's opinion, it was a good request, he decisively used all of his disguise abilities. The gray tentacles had already spread to every corner of his body, changing his appearance, temperament, and other details. Of course, he also took into account that he would get along with Sally in the future, so he didn't make any changes to his basic appearance and figure. Hairstyle. The originally short black hair was lengthened to a more fluffy style that fell to his ears. There were also 2 semi-living crow-shaped earrings hanging from his earlobes. Glasses. Using the crow mark on his right hand and the black characteristics given by the Night Priest, he created a pair of black metal glasses. The glasses themselves emitted a dark aura of London. Sense of mystery +1. If necessary, he could even use the glasses to block the other party's observation of his appearance. Clothing. In terms of clothing, Han Dong chose a long windbreaker that was very suitable for his identity as a teacher, paired with a white shirt and a brown leather vest. Then he added a pair of tall brown leather shoes that increased his height and temperament. Of course, once this kind of clothing was refracted through the unique prism effect of the school, it would be distorted in the eyes of different hybrid demons. or a smoky lung piece, finely stitched coat, or a flesh skin overcoat engraved with spells. This kind of image change made the young Han Dong look more mature, more like a teacher of the hybrid demon high school. In addition to the image, the most important thing was aura imitation. The majority of hybrid demons could change their appearance and often used aura to determine a person's identity, since he was going to be a teacher in the secret court. In terms of aura, Han Dong found a very suitable target to imitate, Mr. Black and White, in order to make his characteristics stand out even more. Caw! A crow with pure black eyes constructed from black magic perched on Han Dong's shoulder. Vice Principal, what do you think? Staring at the young man, who had completely transformed into a human, the vice principal, who was wrapped in a shroud, immediately extended a large number of tentacles from the gaps of the bandages. He seemed very satisfied. As expected of the Grey Envoy, his disguise level is very high. However, there's still some flaws. As he spoke, a yellow sand tentacle with black scriptures swimming on its surface extended from the vice principal's mouth. The yellow sand tentacles came into contact with a crow on Han Dong's shoulder. It was accompanied by an influx of ancient magic. The crow became thinner, and the flesh on its flank fell off, revealing the eerie white bones. It was like an undead crow with 100 years of history, not the newborn crow just now. It was more like Han Dong's temperament. Regarding the use of black magic, you were considered excellent among your peers, but in my opinion, you are still completely unqualified. After all, your black magic system originated from your left arm. Since you are borrowing the power of others, you should pay more to control this power. Yes. Also, there's the problem of your identity and name. In this year's lecturer examination, there happened to be an external teacher from Ulthar who died during the examination. He was a sage. The news of his death has not been made public. I can directly let you replace this person's identity and become a lecturer in one fell swoop. This will save you a lot of time. As for the name, surname, Nicholas does not need to be changed. You only need to change Warren to George. When your position in the school is stable enough, you can disclose your identity at any time. At that time, I will also let the staff of the archives department change your file. There will be no problems. Okay, this was good. Han Dong's purpose of coming to the secret court was to take a look at the library. He did not want to cause too much trouble. Now that he had the vice principal's protection, it could not be better. Sha. Grains of sand gathered on the table to form Han Dong's identity file, and the archives department also carried out synchronized changes. When Han Dong reached out to take the file, the strange yellow sand immediately penetrated his skin and went straight to his brain. The information contained in the file was actually directly recorded into his brain in the form of yellow sand engraving. George, Nicholas School of Biotechnology and Engineering. Lecturer A, super high-definition bird's eye view of the campus was imprinted in his mind. The name of each building and the entry requirements were marked in detail. This included the building known as the Great Library, and the basic identity requirement was that of a lecturer. If students want to enter the library, they need to fulfill certain conditions, such as consuming a large number of credits or obtaining a library card as a reward during a difficult task. At the same time, it also marked the teacher's apartments, teaching buildings, and other areas that he would often come into contact with. Tomorrow will usher in your first class as a lecturer. Every class in the secret court will be recorded and sent to the Academic Affairs Office for evaluation. If the quality of the class is below the passing line many times, your identity as a lecturer will be stripped. I will give you a week to adapt to life in the secret court. When necessary, I will take the initiative to find you. Thank you, Vice Principal. Finally, I have a very small request. The Vice Principal's mummy mimicked a circular sand opening in his abdomen. Can you extend your left arm in? I hope to taste the history of your left arm. It will also be beneficial to my future teaching direction. No problem. Han Dong stepped forward and directly inserted his left arm into the Vice Principal's body. There was a sense of squeezing and friction between flesh and sand. wisps of memories about Imhotep, as well as Han Dong's experience on his left arm, such as Prometheus, Shindu, were all clearly perceived by the vice principal. Ah, what a good history. I didn't expect you to be a pharaoh of a certain world. It really suits my taste. Today's conversation ends here. You can leave. Okay. When he completely left the mausoleum area and the administrative building, Han Dong's professional smile immediately turned into an awkward expression. Just now, when his left arm was in the vice principal's body, Han Dong could also reverse perceive some of the other party's internal information, including a kind of strange attention, as if the vice principal had a very strange idea about him. Don't think too much. It should just be a homologous effect. I hope to use the vice principal's understanding of the yellow sand and death to improve the quality of my left arm again. Being able to directly become a lecturer also saves me a lot of time. Once I have time, I will go to the library to take a look. I didn't expect that I would continue to do the work I did when I was alive in another world. It's a bit interesting. I hope the students here won't be too naughty. Chapter 1472. Han Dong, who was directly promoted to lecturer through special channels, also received a lot of privileges. For example, a better single dorm room, free school bus service. Not long after he stood in front of the administration building, a school bus that was modified from a worm quickly arrived. The interior had more space and more seats. Since it was still class time, very few teachers returned to the apartment. Han Dong and a teacher wearing a bull mask and walking with a cane were the only ones there. They did not talk to each other at all. According to the campus map, the teacher's dorm was located in Mi University's ancient mountain. As the name suggests, it was an ancient mountain range from ancient times. It had nurtured many generations of civilizations. During the construction of the secret court, it was valued by the principal and was separated from the mountain range and added to the campus. Ancient Mountain was considered an independent area of Mi University. Without a school bus service, there was a high chance of getting lost in Ancient Mountain or even being attacked by monsters. Of course, for someone like Han Dong, who had advanced perceptual perception, walking was also possible. As the school bus drove into the depths of Ancient Mountain, Han Dong's eyes reflected a more normal teacher's dorm. It was similar to a 21st century high-end apartment building. Let's look at the original appearance of this dorm. Magic eye. Ignoring the reflection of the prism effect, Han Dong looked at the dorm's original appearance. The scene in front of him made him even more excited. What he saw was a giant pustule. Protruding from the surface of the pustule, or inside the pustule, were the individual rooms of different teachers. Of course, what interested Han Dong was not the shape of the pustule, but the nature of the pustule. The pustule grew in the center of Ancient Mountain. The magic eye could even see traces of energy flowing between Ancient Mountain and converging towards the pustule. The benefits of the teacher's dorm are not bad. It constantly absorbs the energy of the entire mountain. Lying in such a dorm and resting, the body and spirit will be nourished. He did not care about the nature of the pustule and did not reject it at all. He strode towards the dorm. However, the moment Han Dong stepped into the dorm, he was stunned. Caw! The crow on his shoulder let out a dry cry. A drop of cold sweat slid down his right temple. He looked at the front of the dormitory hall. A young teacher in a suit with a translucent head and a galaxy inside walked out of the elevator. Since Han Dong was the only one in the hall, the teacher's starry eyes fell on Han Dong. Such a gaze made Han Dong feel like he was being seen through. Hello, Professor Pope. Han Dong chose to take the initiative to greet him. If he deliberately avoided him, it would be easier to arouse suspicion. A new teacher? I've never seen you before. Clearly, Bop was unable to see through the disguise for the time being. He only felt that the aura of death and crows emitted by Han Dong was somewhat peculiar. After all, Bop had never thought that Han Dong, a human, would suddenly come here to teach after the London game ended. Just call me George. I've just passed the lecturer's assessment. I'm currently teaching in the School of Biotechnology and Engineering. I'm just about to move here. The most junior teaching assistants will be arranged to live in the student dormitory. Only lecturers are qualified to live in Gushin. Congratulations. Bop was very polite when he did not recognize Han Dong. He did not show any superiority because of his identity as a professor. Han Dong only let out a sigh of relief when Bop had completely left. Fortunately, I purposely hid my void attribute. This kind of contact is too dangerous. I didn't expect that a famous person like Bop would actually live here. I thought that he had a villa in the school. However, Bop is indeed a good person. In terms of character, he is even better than most humans. No, it's a pity that he has already embarked on a different path. Forget it. Asterisk ding dong. Asterisk while riding the metallic elevator, Han Dong curiously used his magic eye to take a peek. He discovered that he was wrapped in a living fetus. The living fetus could quickly crawl through the passages of the flesh wall through contraction and expansion. The floor button that Han Dong pressed was actually a nerve protrusion inside the living fetus. Once the corresponding protrusion was pressed, the living fetus would appear excited and accelerate its contraction, quickly crawling to the corresponding floor. Such a protrusion even made Han Dong's hands itch. He wanted to touch it a few more times, but in the end, he held back. 1,313. What an unlucky number. The passage on the 13th floor was cold and silent. He could not sense any signs of life. The door here did not have a keyhole or a card swipe sensor. There was only a circular hole that corresponded to the thickness of a regular tentacle. Asterisk creak. Asterisk he placed his palm on it and inserted a tentacle into it. The door with biometric recognition automatically opened. The interior corresponded to a simple and modern duplex room. The first floor had a study, balcony, and spacious living room. The second floor had a bedroom and an independent bathroom. As for the actual appearance of this room, Han Dong also took a peek. Although his taste was a little heavy, he could see an energy thread that came from Mount Gu connected to the bottom of the bed. Just as Han Dong had guessed, he could enjoy the replenishment of energy by sleeping on the bed. Not bad. At this moment, the bathroom door on the second floor suddenly opened. A moist black goat's hoof stepped out, followed by a white jade body wrapped in a bath towel and a lovely young girl's face. Sally? You. How did you know I would live here? I obtained the right to live in this apartment by impersonating someone else's identity. Sally stepped on the wet goat's hooves and slowly walked down the stairs. She looked down at Han Dong with a haughty expression. Aren't you underestimating my ability? No matter what, I'm still a fourth origin. Our black goat race surpasses most hybrid demons in terms of talent. Many of my sisters are teachers or executives in the school. I asked my sisters to help me search for the keyword Nicholas. In the end, I found a lecturer named George. Nicholas, who suddenly appeared in the archives room. I guess it was you. Looks like you've also received special treatment. Impersonating someone else's identity and directly becoming a lecturer. Who has such great authority? Unfortunately, the vice principal thinks highly of you. Not bad. No wonder you purposely revealed your strength during the test. So that's why. You'll only be teaching officially tomorrow. There's still a lot of time left today. I'll take you around the school later. I don't really want to go out. Besides, if we stay together, Bob might recognize me. We haven't rested for the past few days. Why don't we just sleep? Okay. Whoosh. In the blink of an eye, a black shadow flashed across the second floor. The bath towel was already draped over the chair. Sally had already wrapped herself in the blanket. She quickly patted the bed with one hand, indicating for Han Dong to hurry in. Chapter 1473. Squeak, 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 some kind of root-like substance penetrated the mattress, attached meat pad, and pierced into Han Dong's body while he was sleeping. It was connected to Han Dong's spine without any tactile sensation, delivering nutrients from Gushin. At the same time, it also came with a set of dream service, which allowed Han Dong to experience his former life in Gushin through his dreams. When he woke up, the tiredness brought about by the journey and the assessment had disappeared along with the roots, leaving behind a feeling similar to having just pulled out a fire pot. However, at this moment, there was still a different kind of touch. A slender female goat's leg was all over Han Dong's body. The pure natural wool felt very comfortable when paired with Sally's near-perfect leg proportions. Moreover, the slightly wriggling wool had a certain temperature and suitability to the flesh. The touch on the skin was far better than any top-notch wool in human society. It was different from Eurydice's moist and fleshy long legs. Both could be given high marks, and the satisfaction it brought was also different. Sally, who was sleeping, only put one leg on Han Dong's body. She deliberately kept her face at a certain distance to prevent the goat horns on her head from affecting Han Dong's sleep. Not long after, Sally slowly opened her eyes that were shining with a faint purple luster. When she saw that Han Dong had woken up and was lying next to her, she immediately rubbed her face and goat horns against his face. "Good morning, the Secret Academy's teacher's dormitory is so comfortable." As Sally stretched her back, her legs and tail also straightened. "Yes, I have to get up quickly. In another hour and a half, it will be my first class as a lecturer. I still have to prepare." Unexpectedly, Sally grabbed Han Dong's arm and restrained him in the blanket. "There's no need to rush. With your level, there's no problem at all for an ordinary class. Let's talk in bed. You fell asleep the moment you lay down on the bed yesterday. It was boring." Han Dong thought that he did have a few questions to ask Sally, so he nodded and agreed. It was definitely not, because the goat's leg was comfortable on his body. Han Dong recounted his meeting with the vice principal in detail yesterday, and asked at the same time, "Sally, I vaguely feel that the vice principal seems to have some opinions about Bob, or the power behind him, which is the principal. I don't know if it's just my imagination." Sally stroked the surface of the goat horn with one hand, appearing to be in a state of deep thought. "Well, if that's the case, I seem to have heard of it before. It was rumored that the principal was not in the school most of the time due to various matters in the void and the universe. The matters were also left to the vice principal, the deans of the various faculties, and the management of the center. Only when it came to the fundamental reform of the school would he personally intervene. There was once a school riot that had a huge impact. Due to the large number of people involved, there were even quite a few teachers and students who had good ratings. The vice principal proposed to retain the outstanding teachers and students and punish them by deducting their credits or staff grades, or by confinement. However, the principal treated them equally and expelled all the teachers and students involved in the unrest, including a student that the vice principal valued very much. It's probably because of this that the vice principal has been estranged. Campus unrest? Who dares to cause trouble in the secret court? I'm not too sure about that. This incident happened before I joined the school. All the relevant records and documents have been deleted. The only thing that has been circulating among the teachers and students is the 4 words school unrest. No one knows what exactly happened. Okay, Han Dong silently remembered this matter in his heart. The vice principal really said that he wants to use you to suppress Bob? It's not exactly suppression, but it's just to maintain the balance. So, Sally, if you want to follow me, you have to disguise yourself. At the very least, you have to hide all the relevant characteristics of the black goat. Can you cooperate with me? Sure. Wormline. In order to ensure the efficiency of the teacher's work, there were different school buses that were sent from the teacher's dormitory to various areas of the school every 5 minutes. In the back row, on the double seat by the window, Han Dong, who had a crow perched on his shoulder and was wearing a pair of black metal glasses, was looking at the scenery of the school through the membrane window. However, Han Dong was not alone in the car this time. There was a mysterious woman sitting beside him. She was wearing a black mask that covered her mouth and nose. The effect was similar to Han Dong's glasses, which could increase the sense of mystery and prevent others from perceiving. Her black ponytail swept back and forth on her left and right shoulders with the slight sway of the car, transformed from goat horns. Her upper body was wearing a shirt with a bow. Her lower body was wearing a loose skirt with black stockings, transformed from goat hooves. The above was the scene seen from a human's perspective. During the car ride, her long black stockings rested on Han Dong's body the entire time. From time to time, She would lean close to Han Dong's ear and ask if her image was strange. More importantly, goat hooves were disguised as human legs. Sally even had some difficulty walking at first. "Sally, do you really want to go to class with me? I've temporarily applied for a 3-month visiting scholar position. I'm qualified to sit in on any class. Anyway, I don't have anything to do. It won't be so boring to follow you." You should be reaching the mythical stage soon, right? Don't you need to meditate on campus for a while? Unexpectedly, when Han Dong talked about mythical issues, Sally actually blushed a little. Several tentacles even drilled out from the black silk. "No need. I've already completed the last piece of the puzzle during the London game. Now, I just need to find a suitable opportunity to achieve a breakthrough." Opportunity? Well, the opportunity is with you. Although Han Dong was a pure straight man, he also understood the meaning of this sentence. "Well, if there's anything I can help with, just say it." School of Biological Science and Engineering. A characteristic like eugenist was a good symbol of the school. As a protoplasmic creature like schooners, which was created through postnatal biotechnology, he also had the ability to release plagues. From Sally, he learned that eugenist was once an outstanding graduate here, but his reputation was not very good. Currently, Biology Building, Classroom 0701, was already filled with a total of 52 hybrid demon students. Although the corresponding human posture was refracted through the prism effect, their behavior and habits could not be filtered. Such a scene could only be seen in the secret court. Most of the students chose to take out their eyeballs. Through a fixed bracket on the table, the field of vision of the eyeballs was fixed on the podium to ensure that they could perfectly receive all the content of the lecture. And they were secretly rushing homework under the desk. Such behavior was allowed. The secret court students had a heavy learning load. It was impossible to complete homework only in their spare time. A multitasking method like this could be said to be a basic skill. If they couldn't do it to this extent, they could already apply for withdrawal. At this moment, with the sound of leather shoes entering the classroom, he stepped onto the podium. The students temporarily stopped their homework and washed their eyeballs with saliva to ensure that they could see more clearly. They had never seen the teacher who walked into the church before. "My name is George Nicholas. From today onwards, I will be in charge of the course, Hybrid Demon Structure." Chapter 1474. School of Biotechnology and Engineering, in the corridor of the first teaching building. A female teacher was sliding in the corridor. Her green dress dragged on the ground and completely covered her lower body. It was impossible to see her specific movement. She looked like a human in her 30s. She had dark green hair that was similar to kelp. Just as she passed by classroom 0701, she smelled a scent that she had never smelled before. She had been teaching here for more than 10 years and could clearly distinguish the scent of a new teacher. Did this lecturer transfer from another department? This scent is completely unfamiliar. He definitely didn't stay in our biology department when he was a teaching assistant. It's really rare to see someone teaching from another department. Could it be that we really don't have anyone in our department, so we borrowed a teacher from another department to teach us? Because Han Dong didn't have a teaching assistant period, the female teacher's doubts were natural. There was suddenly a new lecturer in the department. This female teacher also wanted to see what kind of colleague it was. If the attributes were suitable and it was the type she liked, they might be able to communicate in private. It was very common for teachers with high compatibility to communicate in private or even dual cultivate among hybrid demons. So, several kelp-like tentacles pushed her eyeballs out of their sockets and squeezed into the classroom through the back door. However, the female teacher, who initially had the idea of seeing a new colleague, didn't retract her eyes. She seemed to have found the feeling of being a student in the classroom and had completely integrated into the classroom in a short time. What kind of teaching method is this? Does our department's hybrid demon structure study involve this kind of knowledge? What is going on with this male's body? It can actually imitate different types of hybrid demons? The female teacher slowly moved her whole body into the classroom and even began to take notes. In the entire classroom, not a single student was multitasking. Their attention was all focused on the podium. They had never experienced such a novel and deeply moving teaching process. On the podium, when the black-haired lecturer's lips moved, it was as if he was whispering in the ears of every student. Every sentence would drill into the brain like a parasite, and then, like carving, it would be deeply imprinted in the brain. Although it was a mental invasion method, it had the effect of assisting memory. If the clown knew that Han Dong was using the ability to laugh maniacally in class, who knew what kind of expression he would make? When he talked about the structure of the hybrid demons, the black-haired lecturer would use a disguise method to perfectly replicate the corresponding hybrid demon's form and dissect himself on the spot, so that the students could directly and clearly see the internal structure, on the basis of which the structure principle, the transmission between the bodies, and the optimization theory of energy transmission were explained in detail. Occasionally, he would reveal his practical experience in the true sense. What the hell is this? The black-haired lecturer's unique teaching style deeply attracted the female teacher in the green dress who had a kelp hairstyle. She was even thinking about what to say after class. As students of the biology department, it was normal for them to communicate privately. However, just as the female teacher had such a thought, an inexplicable killing intent swept through her body, forcing her to look at the back of the classroom against the wall. The woman who was crossing her legs in black stockings was staring at her. This kind of gaze seemed to drag her into the black forest and directly absorb her as the lowest level of fertilizer. The female teacher naturally understood the problem. The evil thoughts in her mind towards the black-haired lecturer were swept away. She simply listened to this wonderful lesson. The reason why Han Dong was able to speak so deeply into the students' minds was because he relied on his previous teaching skills and his own ability, especially the consciousness invasion brought by the maniacal laughter. Of course, these were all basic skills. The main reason was because of the practical knowledge. What Han Dong taught in class came from his own understanding and understanding of the hybrid demons from his own perspective. Combined with the above teaching method, he achieved an extremely efficient teaching effect. Some students with good comprehension could even increase the efficiency of their bodies just in class. When the bell rang, Han Dong was immediately surrounded by the students. During this time, several female students had close contact with Han Dong's body, making Sally so angry that she stomped her feet. Considering that this was just normal contact between teachers and students, she could only secretly endure it. Han Dong was finally able to escape when the teacher of the next class came to the classroom. As expected of the secret court, these hybrid demon students' learning level is higher than any of the students I taught in my previous life. Of course, some of the students are similar to Hope. They all have the future of a small or medium-sized tribe on their shoulders. If they relax even a little, they might be expelled. If they officially graduate, not only will they obtain great growth, they can also use the secret court's graduation certificate to integrate their tribe into a large tribe, a mythical or even a king-level city. By the way, Nicholas, were you also a teacher in the past? That was before I came to this world, just as the two of them were chatting. A private broadcast directly reached Han Dong's mind frowny face. The hybrid demon structure study taught by you has been evaluated. Class overall grade. SSS, teacher points plus 10. Sally noticed Han Dong's pause and immediately asked, "Is the class grade out? How much is it?" 3S and 10 teacher points. What's the use of that? Sally thought that Han Dong would get an S grade, but who knew that he would get a rare SSS grade? This was a bit too exaggerated. Generally speaking, every time a teacher completes a basic course, they will get 1 teacher point. These points can be used to exchange for various rewards, such as the library card that you want. Nicholas. How many points can I get to borrow? A demonic book, level book. This at least tens of thousands, I don't know. Demonic book is the best book collection in a great library. Even as an outstanding graduate, I was not qualified to come into contact with such books. I was not even allowed to make basic inquiries. Moreover, Points are only one aspect. If you want to get a demonic book, library card, you need to pay other prices. Well, take it slow, school life has just begun. Time passed day by day. Han Dong's unique teaching style and extremely high-class grades gradually attracted the attention of a large number of teachers, and even other teachers began to learn this teaching style. In just a week, every time Han Dong started a class, the whole classroom was full. There were students from next door who came to join the class. There were also teachers from the secret academy who wanted to learn Han Dong's teaching style. There were even associate professors in the crowd. 2 weeks later, during one of the classes, the vice principal personally came. When the bell rang, the vice principal also clapped his hands. After all, the vice principal was also a teacher. He highly praised Han Dong's teaching skills. He also had many private conversations, hoping that Han Dong could continue to maintain this level of teaching. Half a semester passed. The hybrid demon structure study taught by Han Dong was given an S grade and above in every class, so the school made an exception and promoted it to a premium course. At the same time, the school management gave Han Dong a public lecture every Wednesday to the morning in the central teaching building, lecture room number 2, which was open to the whole school. At the same time, a large number of teacher points were received, and Han Dong was nominated for the Outstanding Teacher of the Year. Chapter 1475. In the area close to the center of the universe. Sticking to the intersecting dimensional boundaries, one went deep inside. Without the interference of madness and with a normal pass, one would truly reach the center of this infinitely chaotic universe. If the entrant had a qualified brain and had the qualifications to step into this place, one would see a terrifying celestial body full of abysses. At this time, but a gray aura that ignored the restrictions of the rules appeared on the surface of the celestial body. Hiss, 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 the gray aura constructed several terrifying long arms, forcibly tearing a small opening in the space here. It allowed a long gray scroll to come to the surface of this planet that was classified as the ultimate forbidden area. The long scroll was essentially a king-level land deed, and it was a land deed upper king level that was equivalent to a large world or even a sub-super world. On the back of the long scroll, there was a distorted gray font corresponding to the name of the country, Sharnith. A gray head that looked like a tentacle slowly emerged from the long scroll and landed on the ground. This was the Gray Walker, or Chaos Walker, who personally awarded Han Dong at the London Game Award ceremony. One of the rewards was to make an appointment with Han Dong to upgrade the faceless head. Although he was the master of Sharnith, he was also familiar with the center of chaos. After all, he originated from here, and he himself originated from a kind of madness on the rational level. When he returned to his original world and tried to perceive the existence of Han Dong, the connection between the two was infinitely weakened. In theory, Han Dong belonged to the Gray Envoy. As long as he was in the main world, he could sense the existence of Han Dong at any time, and even clearly see what Han Dong was doing. In desperation, some kind of eyeball opened on the long-bearded face, and this was somewhat similar to the magic eye that Han Dong cultivated. Forcibly passing through layers of obstacles and barriers, in the depths of multiple time slits, he caught a glimpse of a campus under special protection. To be a teacher in the secret court? One unexpected choice. Is this a coincidence caused by the collision of countless chaotic factors, or is it an invisible effect? Compared to the center of chaos, the secret court may be more suitable for your skull transformation and advancement. I will respect your choice this time. The Gray Walker took a step forward that transcended time and space. Ignoring the disruption caused by the time diversion, his foot landed directly on the yellow sand of Egypt. Miskatonic University Administration Building. Mausoleum area. Han Dong was in a mummified state, practicing an ancient secret technique under the guidance of the vice principal. During the first half of the semester, Han Dong would occasionally receive the vice principal's summons. Under the guidance of the other party, he studied the dark magic passed down by the ancient hybrid demons. According to the vice principal, Han Dong already had a sufficient foundation. As long as he was willing to put in the effort, he would definitely master the dust-stepping secret technique that was passed down from ancient times. Once he realized the control of such secret arts, Han Dong will be able to create a colossus with sand or touch the dimension of time through the effect caused by the death of the sand, just like the vice president did. This was especially true for the latter. Whenever Han Dong was summoned by the vice principal, he would be in his best state of mind to study. Unknowingly, located at the bottom of the smiling tree, the stone tablet at the bottom of the abyss of truth that belonged to Han Dong was forming grains of yellow sand on the surface as Han Dong cultivated. So far, your progress has surpassed any student I have ever taught. This has a lot to do with you being the pharaoh of a certain world. Thank you, Vice Principal. A large amount of flesh and blood quickly added to the skeleton of a mummy. Caw! The crow cried. As the black windbreaker fell, the crow landed on his shoulder, and Han Dong returned to the appearance of a lecturer. By the way, the hybrid demon structure study that you are in charge of has been listed as a premium course. At the same time, you have also made a lot of contributions to the biology department. Moreover, the article you published a week ago was published in the Journal of the Secret Court. Your application for the title has been accepted. You will participate in the title evaluation of Associate Professor in a month. Is there a problem? The school-level Journal of the Secret Court was more influential than any international or world journal. I will take care of it. Because your recent performance has been too eye-catching, your popularity on campus has been high. If someone finds trouble with you, you can directly report it to me. There is no need to waste time on this kind of thing. Maintaining this popularity and being promoted to associate professor is enough for you to affect Bob's position in the school. How about this? In order to make you more motivated, I will promise you one thing in advance. If you can achieve the expected goal, you'll be allowed to step into the deepest part of the mausoleum and have a direct contact with my body. This will help the stability and sublimation of the dust-stepping secret technique. Good. I will definitely not disappoint the vice principal. Han Dong whistled all the way out of the administrative building. It had been a long time since he was so happy. This half a semester of life in the secret court allowed Han Dong to completely integrate into it. While living a fulfilling life on campus, he was also able to receive the personal guidance of the vice principal. The teacher's points were also quickly transferred into his account. Total points, 38,610. This kind of asset could be considered rich even in the entire secret court. However, relying on the points alone, he could only enjoy the regular services and the borrowing of middle and low-level books. If he wanted to touch a top-level book like the demonic book, being an associate professor was the minimum requirement, and he also had to pay a huge price. Nicholas, you're finally out? Let's go. Let's go to the cafeteria to eat. At the entrance of the administrative building, two long black legs that were filled with danger in the eyes of the other mantis demons were leaning against the wall. Sally was still the same. During this period of time, she had been living with Han Dong, looking for some kind of opportunity. When she saw Han Dong walk out of the elevator, a very natural smile appeared under the veil. Let's go. I'm also very hungry. The snack called Musk Ray Abdominal Tentacle Wrap Meat. Last time was pretty good. I want to eat 5 of them later. However, just as Sally habitually linked arms and boarded the school bus to the secret court's cafeteria, she discovered that the time in the bus was completely still. The teachers and the driver were all locked in a kind of space-time imprisonment. Only Han Dong and Sally were not affected. Han Dong immediately lowered his head towards a certain direction in the bus. Sally knelt on the ground with a posture of worship. The life of a teacher in the secret court seems to be very suitable for you in such a short time. You actually faintly touched on the level of time. A whisper of Sumi reverberated in their cranial cavities. Senpai, why did you come to school? Isn't this because of your matter? Of course, I also came back to my alma mater to take a look. The moving land deed, upgrade and transformation have been completed. The manor is comparable to a mythical city. However, it still needs to be nourished in my body for a while. Moreover, before you accept the deed, it's best to complete the faceless head upgrade. In my opinion, your current state is the best time to upgrade. Okay, please wait a moment. I will immediately contact the vice principal and ask him for a period of leave. I will immediately go to the core of chaos with you. No need, I have changed my mind. The head's upgrade is in the secret court. Tonight, follow me to take a look at the upgrade site. If it's suitable, then it's decided. Sally Love Hooves, daughter of the Black Mountain Goat. You should also come. Perhaps it will be beneficial for you. Yes. Chapter 1476. The school bus was heading toward the cafeteria. In the last row, Sally held onto Han Dong's arm tightly and kept her head down. She did not dare to say a word without permission. On the other side of Han Dong sat the Grey Walker, the symbol of the world's top combat power. It was a perfect camouflage in the truest sense of the word. None of the teachers on the bus noticed the Grey Walker's existence. It was not just a visual filter, but a kind of full consciousness concealment. As long as the Grey Walker only wanted to be seen by Han Dong and Sally, then the other individuals would not be able to sense its existence. Even all interactions related to the Grey Walker would be filtered. For example, during the conversation between Han Dong and the Grey Walker, in the eyes of others, Han Dong was just sitting there in a daze. Senior, are we going directly to the venue now? No need to rush. The so-called venue is a forbidden area in the secret compound. It's best if we wait until nighttime to go. Didn't you say you were going to prepare the cafeteria? You should know that the secret compound's cafeteria is enough to be ranked in the top 5 restaurants in the world. Food is also very important to us. Since the upgrade is coming, I will choose the food for you tonight. Okay. For some reason, Han Dong had an ominous feeling. Secret compound cafeteria, just as the Grey Walker said, it had a great origin. In order to be worthy of the secret compound's position in the world, so that the teachers and students could get enough nutrition under the pressure of work and study. At the same time, they also had to consider the needs of different races for food. In the early days of the school, the design and construction of the cafeteria took a lot of time. The corresponding chef team behind the cafeteria came from various regions of the universe. They were good at cooking dishes in various fields, and their standards were also top-notch. The cafeteria was built on an isolated island on the east side of the school and was only connected by a soft tongue bridge. Usually, Han Dong enjoyed free food in the public area. Today, because of the Grey Walker's arrival, Han Dong applied for a private room as a lecturer and enjoyed the dishes personally made by the head chef. Of course, the price was also quite expensive. Because the right to order was given to the Grey Walker, the total price of this meal reached 100 points. Appetizer, Innsmouth-style sashimi, fish egg jelly soup, cold extract from the third stomach pouch of Luna Beast main course, grilled cold spider thigh meat, burrowing demon worm larva rice balls, braised migo brain with Verlangian evil fungus essence dessert, glue-wrapped sutured meat tentacles. The chef will select 10 different types of tentacles according to the season and sew them together. Dip them in thick, fresh, and sweet eye drops. Although it was hard for Han Dong to accept plates of lively dishes being placed on the table, it was still difficult for him to accept them. However, the moment the fork sent the food into his mouth, his entire brain trembled, and even his disguise was completely removed. His body instinctively drove all of his attention to savor this otherworldly delicacy. Since you're in the secret court, you have to enjoy everything here as much as possible. This kind of food can bring our spirit to another world through taste, especially for individuals who are experiencing it for the first time. They may even have unexpected gains. That's great. Han Dong's brain expanded slightly under the stimulation of the taste, and a space of consciousness where the talent tree was even bloomed with dazzling flowers. Count, who was coexisting with Han Dong's consciousness, also clearly felt this delicacy. Currently, he had turned into a useless dog, leaning against a tree trunk and twitching crazily. When a meal was over, Han Dong's consciousness slowly returned to normal. A gray whisper entered his brain through his ears. Nicholas, what's your purpose in coming to the secret court to teach? Don't tell me you're just here to teach. Or do you want to use the vice principal to help you complete one of the mythical puzzle pieces? Because I learned from Sally that the library of the secret court is enough to be ranked first in the entire universe. And there are books of the level of the demonic book stored inside. The Book of the Dead Spirit can only be removed when I reach the mythical stage. Before that, I want to come into contact with the demonic book in advance. I knew it. You're probably thinking about the library. However, if you want to borrow the demonic book here, you'll have to pay a huge price. You can make your own choice when the time comes. Perhaps the demonic book isn't as beautiful as you think. Okay. Oh, right, Senior. Where's the forbidden area we're going to later? Han Dong had always been curious about which area of the secret court would be suitable for his brain to upgrade. In this half a semester, with Sally's company, he had been to many areas of the school. At present, it seemed that only the ancient mountain, the deep-sea lake, and a few chaotic secret realms provided by the school for teachers and students to cultivate seemed to be suitable. However, the answer given by the Grey Walker was completely different from what Han Dong had expected. The central management building of the secret court, brain integration room. This isn't the central management building only for professionals? With me here, it's easy to get in. The only trouble is that we need to borrow the brain integration room for a while. I hope we won't be discovered during the upgrade of your head. Can't we use proper means to get in? For example, by borrowing your identity. The uniqueness of the secret court makes it difficult for my identity to work here. The brain integration room is equivalent to the brain of the secret court. The reason why the entire campus can proceed in an orderly manner is closely related to this area. If I want to obtain the right to use it, I'll have to apply to the principal. I'm not sure when it'll be approved. I don't have much time to waste here. This Han Dong smelled an ominous scent. Even the vice principal might not be able to protect Han Dong if he barged into the central management building without permission. If anything happened, the hard work of the past half a year would all go to waste. He might even be hunted down by the secret court. Don't worry, if we're discovered, I'll think of a way to deal with everything. Okay. When Han Dong agreed, he noticed that Sally, who was sitting beside him, was in a curled-up state. She seemed to be very afraid of what was going to happen next. Sally, are you okay? I'm fine. Since it's Lord Grey's decision, let's do it. As long as it's beneficial to you. Nicholas, I'll support it. Okay, let's go. Let's see what kind of place it is. When the experience of the otherworldly delicacies ended, they immediately went to the central management building. The black cylinder that stood in the center of the campus dimension was not affected by the prism effect. It looked the same no matter what angle it was from. It was made of a special or from an unknown planet. Not only could it block all perception, it could also grow roots like a plant and take root in space. Completely sealed. Every person who entered and left had to go through multiple verifications. Even the middle and low-level workers had to have part of their memories erased. Whoosh, when Han Dong and the others arrived at this area. The Grey Walker extended 2 king-tier tentacles from its back and connected to Han Dong and Sally's brain respectively. It achieved a kind of shared disguise and easily stepped into the central management building. They easily passed through various barriers and arrived at the core level, the brain integration room. The scene in front of him was deeply imprinted in Han Dong's mind. At the same time, he also understood why he had to come here for the brain upgrade. It was a space completely created by the brain. The great race, called the Yith, lived here. They seemed to have signed an agreement with the secret court. Any information that happened in any corner of the secret court would be gathered here and processed by them. The appearance of this item made the Grey Walker reveal an unhappy expression. Is this guy secretly targeting your brain? Or does he really want to train you? How dare he secretly give you such a thing under our noses? Does it have any side effects? If you fuse this tentacle into your head, you will be able to acquire the will of Carcosa and unlock a unique soul system that belongs to that guy. However, The price you have to pay is that you might be influenced by the yellow-robed one, or even be under his control. I've already set up a void laboratory. Will it also be controlled by that existence in the void? That's right. If Mr. Yu has such an idea, he can indeed use the connection between your brain and the void to slowly corrupt and control you. This is a kind of trade, a price you have to pay to gain some kind of esoteric system. However, Mr. Yu will not do that. In fact, because you have a certain connection with the void, he will actively bestow upon you certain opportunities and blessings. However, the yellow-robed one is different. This guy has been removed from the group of upper ones by us. Other than Carcosa, he has been stripped of all the land deeds. Currently, he is wandering the universe as an exile. Therefore, if he is related to this head, something uncontrollable might happen. Hearing this, Han Dong quickly put the jade-like tentacle back into the box. All this time, Han Dong believed the yellow-robed one was one of the upper ones, one of the upper ones, and one of the upper ones. There's such a thing. This guy's story is related to a series of secrets, so it's temporarily inconvenient for me to tell you. However, the reason he became an exile is not because of his evil nature, but because of something else. Furthermore, the secret of the soul that he has mastered is indeed valuable and worth learning. This is why I did not stop you from communicating with him. In conclusion, don't get involved in anything related to the head. As for the rest, I'll leave it to you. Understood? Then, this jade-like tentacle will be used to craft equipment in the future. This thing is not a bad choice to be used as a material for equipment. If that's the case, is the next upgrade for my head to be a prison expansion? I will be responsible for the whole process of the head's upgrade. You only need to ensure that the condition is stable. At this point, the Gray Walker turned to Shally. Miss Shally from the Black Forest, when Nicholas's brain is being upgraded, I might need your company. Okay, then, let's get started. It was midnight. Since the related activities at the hidden courtyard had basically ended, the operation of the brain integration room was minimized. More than 50% of the Yith who lived there had entered hibernation state. Following this, a layer of gray shadow spread. Every member of the Yith was imprisoned for a seemingly normal period of time. Even the mythical bodies didn't notice anything amiss, believing that everything was operating normally. The Gray Walker easily imitated the Yith's tentacles and the suction cup structure in front of the chest and entered various hidden commands in front of the control panel. The brain clusters inside and outside the room began to gather toward the center, building a polyhedron with millions of brains as the base. Han Dong used the ability of the void and brought Shally directly to the center of the polyhedron structure. His body was full of dense brain nerves. These brains would be the external CPU and energy supply unit to assist in the entire upgrade process. Detected that the faceless head is saturated. The individual condition is stable. Do you want to upgrade? Yes. As Han Dong's consciousness made the choice, the upgrade process officially began. However, unlike before, the moment the upgrade began, it was accompanied by the guidance of a gray fluid. Han Dong was led to a mysterious area that he had never been to before. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.